But it was getting long.
Well, for first, what you think there would look like goosegrass.
But we
Yeah,
are
Hey, hit all out there, you go.
There used to be a time.
There you go. And they're from you.
Yep. We'll do it. Mr. Carl, are we ready to go, sir?
He's becoming a pro on that. He didn't hear me.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have an agenda for a work session, but anyway. It is approximately 11:15 a.m. on Monday, October 18th, 2021, and I call to order this meeting, a special workshop meeting of the Holiday Island Suburban Improvement District Board of Commissioners. And today, we're gonna have some new discussion topics that we haven't talked about yet in our preparation for the 2022 budget. That being the operations of the rec center, the golf course maintenance operations, and the clubhouse operations, the campground, and the marina. And I will say that I've been informed that Colin Polk, the marina leaseholder, is on Zoom and will be available for his part via Zoom. So let's kick this off. And Mr. Presley, would you please lead us in our discussions?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So this will be our last round of work sessions prior to actually putting together the budget. We've covered roads and water, and then we had fire, and then our sheriff's contract. And then now we do these other amenities as the chairman mentioned. And we just want to hear from each of you about what your needs are, whatever outliers that you have coming up in 2022, capital items, salary, and so forth. And then I believe the board is aware of this, but on Monday and Tuesday, October the 25th and 26th, we will have all-day work sessions with me and all of the department heads.
Not board members, though.
Not board members. It'll be just me and the department heads, Carl, our accounting consultant, and we will actually start. We'll have some pretty good revenue projections by then, and we'll actually start building the budget. And so I would say a week and a half to 2 weeks from now, we'll have something that we can submit to the board for your review. And I believe we ought to go in order here. So Janice, we'll start with you. If you'll come up to the table if you don't mind. And,
Up to the table.
sure.
This can be very informal, Janice. So
Okay. I'm gonna sit in the easy seat here.
The microphone.
Might as well be comfortable. Huh?
The
microphone is.
You just have to
Did
speak.
you, the mic's out there.
I have to sit over
No,
here.
no, no,
You're fine.
You're fine. Just
Just talk now.
talk in
Yeah.
that direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a pretty loud voice anyway, so I think everybody can hear me.
Get out of the pool.
Ah, okay. Where do I begin with the rec center? I mean, let's go from A to Z. The first two pages, I think they're, yes,
I need for you to say your
oh,
name and address when you're speaking, just for the record. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
my home address,
You can use your work address.
work address, okay. My name is Janice Murphy. I work at the Recreation Center, which is 13 Buckskin Lane, but I also live at 7 Hillcrest Drive in Holiday Island.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so what I gave to you was a bunch of written stuff. But the considerations for the budget was the first sheet, and then the CIP I believe was below it. Looking at the thing from last year, I haven't got the most current ones. This one, I'm trying to remember when it was from, what we've used up before, but I know that we will have to increase the chemicals for the pools, providing we open both pools this coming season. And the reason for that is the prices have gone up dramatically for chlorine and plus the other chemicals. There was a factory somewhere down south of here, another state somewhere.
In Texas.
In Texas, was it, that blew up and burned to the ground? So the production of chlorine has become, or any chemicals for pools, has become very, very hard to find. I know I purchased some online through In the Swim, and I think at that time they were $50 more a bucket for the 50 pounds, or the things that we get 50 pounds. And then through our supplier here, Richard, who some people say, you know, argue that we should all go online for everything because he's so much higher, not that much higher. And the value we get from Richard for the help he gives Kim for the pools is invaluable. You can't get that online. So I bought some through In to Swim because he couldn't get it at the time, but now he has been able to supply with stuff. We still have, I think I still have 2,000 some dollars left in that budget, which we're working on now, because what we do, it's got shelf life, so we can buy it at the end of the year, and then we treat the pools through the winter, and then when we come to the spring, we start again, and we have the chemicals to begin with at the start. So that's why we're looking at, you know, finishing off that budget part this year. But because of the fact that chemicals have come up in price, I'm looking to go from the 4,000 we have budgeted for last year to at least 5,000 this year, just to be safe. That was one of my requests for that. Okay, the other budget consideration is increase the parts and maintenance from 2,000 to 3,000. Costs for repairs are going up and happening more and more with what we have at the rec center, you know, you never know what's going to happen down there. So parts and maintenance, just to be on the safe side, to do that too. Building maintenance, okay, this is a biggie. I have not put in this budget anywhere what that building might be. That's not in this budget because that's not part of this, but we have right now, what was my building budget? Building maintenance was only 5,000. No, 3,000. They gave us 3,000. In 2020, I had 5,000. Then come 2021, which of course was pandemic and all that kind of stuff, it went down to 3,000. Well, this year so far, according to this one, which was done, I can't remember when we got this sheet here, but we were already in the negative by 2,000. And we had a bad winter. Pipes broke, flooded crawl space, electricity, pipes had to be fixed and all that kind of stuff. So we went over at that point. Then during our July 2nd festival, we had an issue at the barn with plumbing. And I think some people were there. Well, we had to close the barn down for a while. I finally got a couple of person from Monette to come out and dig it up, and found out that a whole pipe, I don't know if you knew this, whole pipe on the outside, right at the outside of the building, thank God it was on the outside of the building, was broken through by roots from the tree. They had to come out and dig that whole side up and replace all that pipe. Well, the process, they broke through a water pipe, which they fixed, everything is fixed now, but they had to bring out equipment to do that. 3 men were there. I've called this man back several times. I still haven't got the bill. And he's such a nice guy in Monette. And we talk and talk and talk. And I said, you gotta get me this bill. It gotta be paid before the end of the year, you know. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get to it. Well, okay, so and it's a good company. I've had them before out there for the barn. But anyway, those got fixed. I don't have that bill yet. I called, when they were there repairing it, I called Dan, the man from the water department. He came down and he saw what they were doing, but it was way beyond what he could do. So one of the meetings we're at, I said, I have a bet with Kim. I said, I'm saying 5,000, she's saying 6, and he's saying up. And I'm like, so I don't know what that bill's gonna be. So as you can see, the rec center, building, the barn, the island room, the pavilion, that's all what's in this one budget for building maintenance. And you never know what's gonna happen in these buildings.
Janice, the painting of the restrooms and so forth and the new roof, none of that was in this budget, right? That's.
No, that was already way beyond. That was under the capital improvements that we had done, but we already had, that was all done already, no.
Okay.
I had just recently, before we had to move out of the rec center, I had called an electric, like, because all of our lights in that main room of the rec center were just not working. So I had him come out to replace all the LEDs, but then I called him and said, hold off, because, we don't know what we're gonna do with the building yet, but, so that, there's no other outstanding bills that I'm waiting for at all, other than that thing at the barn. So, I don't think going to 8,000 for those buildings is outrageous as far as not knowing what's gonna happen. Some years we don't use it at all, because everything goes smoothly, and then a year like last year, we got slapped with everything, so. But that's one of the things, oh, and this is, I can bring it up now, I suppose. Kim, her cart, she has a utility cart that she goes around, picks up, it's used all the time. She has to have this to cart debris and garbage and you name it. Well, for the last month, it's been really falling apart, and I've contacted John, and then I talked to Kenny. They came out and changed out filters and stuff, and it's still not working correctly. Now, in this budget from this year, we had a capital improvement part of this budget we're in right now was to get another mower for down there. Because hers goes out, we need another mower. But we only have one person, which is Kim, so she's the only one that's going around mowing anything anyway. So I looked at this 5,000, and I know I can't get a mower. At this time of year, I'm not gonna go for a mower, but I've been making inquiries to use that 5,000, not for the mower, but for a new utility cart or a used utility cart. I have contacted, I think the Rogers place that has golf carts, and he had Cross Creek, yeah.
Clear Creek.
Clear Creek.
Somewhere like that, yeah. And he has one that he's lent out to a golf course right now, but it will be coming back sometime in November. I think he said it was a 2000, I can't remember if I have it in here or not, maybe I left it for 2009 something, but it had a big bed on the back, and I said, does it work? Is it running well? He says, yeah. He said, it's been their maintenance stuff. So he's gonna tell me when he comes back. And he said it's probably like 4,900. But I will get more information on that if it comes back in. And if we can use that money towards it, I'd like to see her have a better cart, because without the proper tools, she can't do anything anyway. It's hard enough that it's just one person, but it's hard to pick up twigs and stuff before you're gonna mow, and then you have no place. She's been using our golf carts, but that's not good either. So that was just one of the things
Is
that
it possible to lease that?
you could lease it, I think, but John said he wasn't gonna look to leasing those kind of carts until a couple of years or something, right?
Yeah, well, my just standard golf carts with beds on them,
Yeah.
I don't have a deal up to replace for, I think, 2 more years,
Right.
so.
Right.
But those are
Plus,
leased.
that doesn't mean that you can't lease, you certainly can lease these carts. Yep,
But
that's
your
possible.
utility carts are leased.
No, we
No.
currently aren't.
No.
Okay.
And we got this cart that Kim has, we got somehow from the roads department a couple of years ago. I don't know, it's just kind of put together that way.
This is a club card, it's kind of, they may have a pricing per month for at least on those, so.
Is that Lauren, is that a special type of cart with the,
It's a
like a bed on the back
It's
of
a
it?
4-wheel drive cart.
It's a 4-wheel drive utility vehicle, fully automatic, and it's $162 a month for a lease.
Mhm.
Okay.
What does it look like?
It's the one at the bottom.
Oh, okay.
I don't think she needs four-wheel drive.
No, it's four-wheel drive, no, we're not.
I will
going
say that that club
Okay,
car that Clear Creek is trying to sell
Yeah.
her, these carry-all turf
Yeah,
shoes,
carry-all.
I have experience with them, they're really good cars. I mean,
Right.
it's got a nice utility dump bed on it, it's nothing fancy, but it's what she needs.
Right.
Do you have a quote on that from that?
From
dealership?
Clear Creek, he said 4,900
To buy it.
for,
To buy
no, well, to buy it, it's a used,
Okay.
it's a used one for
Okay.
4,900, that's, and he's got my name and phone number, and I'll get back with him sometime beginning in November, because he said he should be getting it back from the golf course he lent it to, because they were waiting for parts for their cart, so.
I had a question for John. Once you lease a piece of equipment, like you are doing now, a lot of your equipment, is there like a year of warranty? What if it totally goes out if we were to lease one of these? Tell me about that.
Yeah, there's definitely warranties on the lease items.
Okay.
You know, that we're responsible for the maintenance, but if anything, you know, goes wrong out of the ordinary, they'll cover it on
Okay.
a lease.
Good.
I don't know what they would do on the used club car that they would be selling her. It would be something they'd have to discuss. I will say that for, you know, would you say it was 2013?
I think 9 or 13.
Oh, 2009, you know, 4,900 seems on the high end for a used car purchase, you know. But if it's been there at Clear Creek and been being maintained by them, I feel pretty confident that it's, you know, it'll run for quite a while.
Seeing we only have one mechanic at the shops that takes care of the rec center and everybody,
Right.
I would definitely look into leasing one brand new, 100, even if it was less than 162, because it'd be two-wheel drive,
Right.
or it might be a possibility.
Well, that might be a possibility too, yeah.
Well, and golf carts seem to have an inordinate long life in Holiday Island, but if it's a 2009, that also kind of worries me that it's that old. So, you know,
I can keep looking, I called a couple of places, and one place had some, but they were electric. And no, that wouldn't work out too well.
yeah,
Then this other place I think it was in Hollister, they were getting back, some carts were coming in, they could put a bed on it, they said, but theirs were like 5,500 used, you know, at that point, so, you know, but yeah, maybe a one on the lease would be,
I know you're trying to live within your budget,
yeah.
but my experience is go for what's gonna work the best for the longest, and we'll figure out how to make the money work.
Yeah, so that's my wish list there for that.
But
I can inquire
know.
with my vendors
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
I don't know who I deal with Toro and John Deere and Jacobson. I'm sure that they are either carry club cars or Easy Goes, and I can try something.
I don't wanna jump the gun, but I'm proposing that we get more golf carts, and in that, the utility vehicle is part of my proposal, so if that's something that could fall underneath that umbrella, then why not go that route too, you know what I mean?
That was-
So,
Are those, I'm sure they're Yamahas then.
well,
correct?
I have a proposal from both Yamaha or Club Car, either one, I have a proposal from both. The Yamaha proposal is incomplete, I just have for the golf carts now, they didn't get the numbers to me for their utility vehicles. But I assume they're relatively in line, I think the Yamaha might be more expensive than Club Car in general, as far as golf carts and utility vehicles, but that's what the numbers reflect on the proposals anyway, so I can't speak on the utility cars specifically though.
Are the golf carts, are they leased?
They are,
They are.
it's a 5-year lease. I believe the lease comes to term next year in 2022.
That's, Larry, that's pretty much the norm for golf courses throughout the country, is to lease equipment.
Most
At
definitely.
least the.
That's what we've always.
Yeah, it's a much more,
A lot of times you can, well, with club car, I was probably at a disadvantage because I was about that far from Augusta, Georgia. And that's where they're made. And we furnished club car on our golf courses there. And they were, of course, right down the street from them was Easy Go.
Mhm.
And so they were very competitive and they were very eager to throw in utility cards.
It's perhaps something could be negotiated. I can't
Yeah.
promise, but.
Yeah, that works.
Interesting.
Things to consider.
Yeah,
Janice,
absolutely,
good discussion.
yeah. Okay, and then food and beverage, well, a lot will depend on where we are at the start of the season or even in the spring or whatever. We are limited with space at the island room. We have one little refrigerator over there, so we got water in there and whatever pot we had left if somebody wants to buy it. But historically, at this time of year, it's not that big of an issue. If we are back at the rec center and everything is back to normal, which is a big if at this point, we may need to increase the beverage and food up just by $100 for each thing. I think I had beverage, I think we were both at $750 and $700 for the 21 budget. I stayed under that. I know I stayed under that, but you know, last year or this year, I should say, we saw an increase in people being there. So by next year, I'm sure that the increase will continue, I would think, with everything, you know, becoming kind of controllable. So that was just another thing I was looking at to do that, just to have that cushion there. And then, of course, as we all know, state of Arkansas, the minimum wage is increasing next year. So we have the seasonal help that comes in at the rec center, they're all the minimum wage. So we know that they're gonna have to go up to whatever the minimum wage is. And then, you know, so I leave that part up to you guys. I try to get Kim, be nice if I could get her like 2 seasonal help people to help around there. And I have 1, 2, 3, the 3 that comes back between me and Paulette, and 3 that come back for seasonal help. So it's not a huge budget, but you know, we've been able to work it out. And there's more information in that packet I gave you about suggestions and stuff for next year, which in some ways, you know, keeps everything kind of where it's at. That's for a different reading type, I guess. I just love typing anyway. So capital improvement, well, the rec center, I don't know what to tell you. I gave you a capital improvement list here because this is really what we need, whether we're going to be able to get it, but I'm just telling you what is there that happens to happen. Well, a wall, some of you remember the racquetball wall that was down there. Because I remember there was a wall that went like this down by the mini golf area, okay? Well, this past year during one of the major windstorms, it took it down. It took it down, part of it, and one whole side, and took out stuff at the tennis courts and stuff, but the wall had to be demolished. It had to come down. You couldn't leave it up there. So unfortunately, when it got demolished, they kind of pushed, just kind of broke up all these cinder blocks and then threw them down this little hill and then thought they could cover it over with dirt or make it for her. We used it for a burning place, okay? The rec center doesn't have any areas that's safe to burn, but that was where the biggest burning safety was. Well, we've tried at the barn, we've tried there on the slab that's left there, but unfortunately, the wind comes whipping down there and it's very unsafe to burn. So I would like to see some kind of a wall rebuilt. It doesn't have to be as big as that was. It could be 6 foot by 6 foot, by so tall, but she could put the stuff in there and be safe about burning twigs and grasses and all that stuff that we have to get rid of. I know this past year when it happened, I did get a quote from Anthony to build one that wasn't quite as big as the other one, and then I kind of cut it down, but his quote could be anywhere between 5,000 to 7,000 to build a wall of some sort. Whether somebody else, and unfortunately we didn't get there fast enough to get some of the brick before they crushed it up, because I didn't know what they were doing. And so we couldn't just, you know, use more of those bricks to make a wall because they were all crushed up and gone. So that's one of the things on the wish list. I'm looking like that for maybe for 2022 to do something with that. Pool winter covers for both pools. And that is I've got a quote for this year. The pool covers that we have on right now have holes in them. Things have been falling on them. They've got holes here and there. Leaves get underneath there. They can still get them on. There's no question about it because they're on both of the pools now, but they are in need of being replaced. I did get a quote from both of them, $17,000. And what you have to do is, this company is an online company, and you would they'd send you the box and stuff to send your old covers back to them. They pay for that all up front, it's all free thing, because they have to take and do it the same exact way. We have a rectangle pool, but the other one is kind of odd shape. So these quotes are based on what I could draw out and tell them what was there. And so it's, roughly about this price for this year, $17,000 for both pools, if we choose to get them.
Does that include shipping them?
Yes, and that we'd have to ship the old ones back, and then,
Yeah,
they send
shipping one of
they send a box and everything, because where you have the straps,
Right.
they have to make them exactly right so that they can rehook to the surface. So that's one of the big things with the wish list. Another one, which is the real kicker, is to resurface the pool deck. Everybody's been down there and around the big pool. I think it was in 2006, it was before I got there. They had that pool redone with rubber rock, little balls of rubber, and they kind of mix it and then they spread it all out, and it makes this safety surface, and we had our logo was sitting there and everything else. Well, over the years, unfortunately, there was a maintenance to be done to that. And of course, over the years, we have never had really a maintenance department. We've always had retired people who just have to come down there. Chuck was one, Ed was one. And the maintenance of that rubber rock really was never done. Probably should have had a company come in and do it, because it consisted of putting another coat on it to seal it over the years, because the sun has destroyed it. It really has destroyed it. In the places where the sun doesn't get it under the cover thing, it's perfectly okay. That's perfectly okay up here, but it's all around the pool between the chlorine and the sun has completely destroyed most of this. I did get a hold of a company who, at first he says, well, maybe we could, just repair it, and I'm like, yes, let's talk about repairing. But when he saw the pictures I sent him of all of the problems, he said, if it's more than 20% over the size of your pool, he says, you really can't repair it. It has to be a complete, a redone job again. So his company was called AquaSeal, and did a really good job, and the company that for the cover is called Mighty Covers from online. So we have that, have two different ways you can do it. I hate the numbers. Well, for them to come in and remove it, remove everything that's there, that cost is $20,560 based on the size of the pool, which, we have completely drawn out for him here. And that's just around the pool. That is not going to the parts that isn't bad. That's just the pool area, and then where they walk in and stuff, it's still okay. We leave that alone. So that's just the tear off. And you can go two different ways. They gave me total cost for two different ones. One was a 1-year warranty, and that total is $97,285. Or a 3-year warranty, and you're looking at $129,980. Nothing is cheap. It's very expensive. So you put those two together, and it's anywhere between $118,000 or $151,000 for that pool surface. And at this point, I don't know what another option would be, because it's just too much around the pool. There isn't a chance to kind of patch it. But those are big numbers.
Janice, when you have your pool inspected, do they look at things like that?
No, they basically, when they come out, they just look at the pumps are running, the chemicals. they're not gonna tell you, oh, you can't open the pool because of this or that. They don't seem to worry about that, but it just becomes a problem because those little balls are in the pool.
Yeah.
They get on people's feet, and so they're in the pool. Now you're vacuuming them up. They are going into the pumps. We have these big sand pumps, like 5 of them in that big room. Whether or not eventually they're gonna do some damage to the pumps, I don't know. It's just a sand, it's a big sand filter. So far, we haven't had that problem.
To
Pumps
your
are-
knowledge, is the deck that's on there now been there ever since the pool was built?
No, 2006 was when they put that rubber rock in.
Oh.
And then, how many years ago, remember we did the pool, we had the whole inside of the pool redone and things. That was, I was still there, that's about 5-6 years ago, I guess. And we had the top part, the coping done, but we
That's
didn't
all
do anything
expensive.
with the surface at that time. No. But and it's my understanding that that pool is inside another pool. You might remember that.
Mhm.
No, the pool was much bigger than this. It had diving boards.
We had diving boards on
Right.
there, but the liability got so much that I took them down.
Right.
We had a high board, and.
That's what we need is a high board.
Yeah, yeah, that was that.
And
Mayor,
Sounds like a wise decision.
our liability insurance was
Mhm.
such that we decided that this really wasn't important to have diving boards, and particularly a high board.
Yeah, they've probably taken them out of most of pools everywhere.
fun board.
Huh?
the mayor and Barbara Talbot and myself think the dump tank was enough.
Don't take it, that's a fun one. I know.
Janice, as you're looking at those big numbers you just gave us, I had an idea about the wall that you wanted built.
Yeah.
And you got a $7,000.
Yeah.
The Rick Springs High School has a masonry program, and 2 years ago, the student won the first in the nation. And it was John Childers scholarship to go to Norfolk. Anyway, they have a wonderful, wonderful program over there. If you'd like, if Danny would agree, but the board, I will go and talk to the principal, see if we could, with a liability waiver, maybe buy the cement blocks
Right.
and have the kids put it up.
Wow.
I'll try.
That would be a great idea.
Because they're always looking for projects.
Yeah.
One, Cole Raines won it. He went to Nashville, and then the bricks have to be there. They said, build this. You know, they give him all the measurements and built it, one first in the nation.
Wow.
And first in Arkansas. So he's graduated now, and we gave him a scholarship to go to North Ark.
Mhm.
And he's a heavy equipment operator, making a lot of money right now. But at any rate, there's other kids over there doing a wonderful job in the technology field. So I'll talk to the principal.
That would be wonderful.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have, it just has to contain
Yeah.
the fire and, that would be absolutely fabulous. Yeah, I appreciate
I'll
that.
work at that.
That would be good.
I will say that we dump our debris from the Gunite Hole Golf Course in that ditch line down there that runs through the middle of the golf course, and I burn once a year in that ditch line. Not ideal, it's unsightly, I don't like it, what we have to do, if Kim needed to dump stuff in there, she could.
Yeah.
Sounds like if you got that built, I would
Yeah.
maybe more take advantage of
Oh, yeah.
your burn site
Yeah,
and get my unsightly
yeah.
pile of debris out of my creek in the middle of the golf course.
Oh, that would
But
be good too. You take it over there to the dump place, yeah. I mean, that's one thing, see, get a. Works for me. Okay. Yes, I appreciate that. And then the other thing is, okay, for what I just said was like 2022, you always have a capital improvement of a year. Well, that, I'm sure we're gonna knock some of those off of there. Okay, 2023. I look at, you have a swimming pool and you have a lot of people there and you have umbrellas. Well, we have the one structure on one side. And about 3 years ago, I guess, we had that all redone. Anthony came over, put the new roof on it, replaced the rotten wood. It's solid. It works really well. And we have a lot of people that sit over there. Now we have maybe, at one time we bought like 10 new umbrellas. Well, within several months, a lot of them are broken. People, you know, and you try not to pay $250 for an umbrella because they can be that expensive. So you kind of get a cheaper one and then they just wreck them anyway. So I looked into permanent shade structures, which like the one on the other side, well, that's a wood thing. I'm looking on this side. There's a company, this one here, Shade Structures. And I had picked out one in here and I got a quote. It would be something that looks like, it's just like this one here. It's like a left, it comes across and the things go over the top and just comes out this way, so many feet. And I went on the other side of the pool area, just the big pool, not the little pool. And I said, give me a quote for one that's 10 foot by 17 with an 8 foot eave that can't, you know, 8 foot comes out. So it's 17 by 10 foot out. And it's not cheap either, but for one to go on one side of the pool area, it was like $14,600, not cheap. If you want to do two and one on each side, you know, and then you have the two ends of the two short ends of the pool would be open for your bathing beauties and, you know, people at that end, but these two things would be on both sides for shade. For two of them, you get like $25,000 for two of them.
Do you happen to recall how much it cost when Anthony repaired that existing
one,
wooden structure?
I probably have it down there. Because he did that besides then he also painted, you know, all of the buildings. That
Oh,
one
okay.
and that one.
So it was multiple
Yeah, it was
projects.
multiple
Yeah.
projects.
Yeah.
I could ask Anthony for
No, no.
a, you know, for a quote instead of doing it with, you know, these are permanent kind of things. You take those things off and it's a pretty good company. It's better than what Barry did down there with his wood structure. This is all, they do the things like you have at the Walmart, yeah, big things. That's why it's more permanent in that way.
There's the company up in Missouri, I go by it all the time on the way to Kansas City, Interstate 49, that, you know, along the interstate, they have a display of them, they do them.
Yeah, they're really kind of neat. I mean, it's like getting you into the 21st century with something that's kind of modern and people look and go, wow, this is really nice, you know. But
There's another 21st century analogy.
Yeah, a little water park over here.
Yeah, Jen,
Zero.
I'm curious, I'm sure that's
I'm not
on the
allowed.
fabric and it's UV treated and
Mhm.
all of that. Was there a warranty on that?
Oh, yeah, I
I don't
did not.
remember when you and I discussed it, but
yeah.
And I would worry about wind.
Well, it's supposed to stay pretty much up, up. This company is actually out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's Play by Design, it's called.
Do you think they know about wind?
Yeah, they would certainly know.
Yeah, they, you can take the stuff, you can take the covers down. They somehow release with a crane. So if you know that it's gonna be, or you take them down for the winter or something, we have to find all that. But in the summertime, it looks like it's pretty, you know, pretty secure to stay up. And they have pictures of, you get online, you can see pictures of a lot of pool areas that have done this, some up in Illinois that I actually know what pools are. So I said, wow, they look really nice, you know, kind of a modern thing.
I have a question for Danny. Some of the big items, what's the limit that we have to go out for more than one bid, more bidders?
I'll have to check on it. Because I really don't know, but some of this, probably not this item. I mean, on some things, if it's a sole source provider, you know, would be exempt from that, but I'm sure there's multiple companies.
Oh, yeah, there's multiple companies that do this. I just happened to go online and find one that would quote me, you know, so I could have some numbers at least at this point.
A lot of school playgrounds are using those kind of
Yes.
structures now.
Yes, and even, you know, like your water parks and stuff, or, you know, where you have splash pools, they have them sit, you know, so that, yeah, skin cancer is very popular out there right now, so you really have to be careful. You have to at least give the person the opportunity to shade themselves, not that they're gonna do it, they'll sit on the other end and lather up in baby oil, but that's up to them. And then in 2024, I kind of went with 1, 2, 3 years down the road or whatever. We have these old tennis courts sitting back there. They're behind the barn. they're an eyesore. So you have to decide what you can do with them or maybe eliminate them. I don't know, but people that walk around there, possibly it could turn somebody off, like why are they sitting here? Why are they just doing nothing? There are ways to correct it. You've got a big, beautiful piece of concrete. And there are companies very similar to what we did with the shuffleboard, the snap together pieces, and you make a basketball court here, another pickleball court here, shuffle over here, whatever. They can take a big piece of concrete like that and redesign it into these snap together pieces of courts. Yeah, the shuffleboard courts like that right now. It's really nice.
Do they need to be resurfaced?
Nope.
I don't know.
No, not if they're plastic, no.
Oh, no.
No, I'm talking about the ones that
Oh.
are there now. That's what's wrong with them?
Oh,
They
yeah,
need-
they're a mess.
They need,
Oh, I'm sure they would. And they see over.
that's asphalt.
Yeah,
It's painted asphalt that's
I
on
thought
there,
it was concrete.
but the concrete's underneath it.
Oh. I don't know what it is.
And it's well, when they got resurfaced the first time, I know about that because I got a company out of, I forgot now where it was, I think Little Rock. They
And that was done by Perry Tennis Company, probably going back, well, the first time that they did they did that, then they did the pickleball, I think. So it's probably 10, 12 years ago, maybe for that one. Now that one is still, they use it and they haven't complained about that tennis court. Pickleball was just redone, but I'll have to look at the other tennis court to see if it is asphalt. I am not sure at that point. But it's just sitting there. There's not enough tennis players to warrant another tennis court. It just isn't. So it sits there not being used. There should be something that we could either put in there or, I don't know. That's just something that has to be done back there.
Well, sometimes we have to rely on the creativity of our residents. And maybe somebody can do dog training in there or something. I know
Well,
that's constructed.
And there, somebody came down, a father with his 2 kids after the pickleball court was done, and he's down there sitting on the bench texting, and his kids are running around in these little tricycles, but there's all fenced in, and I went down there and I said, I'm sorry, you can't do that. Well, we did it all last year. I said, yeah, but we just did pickleball, course, it's strictly pickleball. And I should have told them, just take them over there, because it is another fenced in area. It would be, I haven't thought about the dog park being in there because it's all fenced in.
Yep.
And it's just concrete. You just have to use some imagination with, if you want to let dogs run around in there or use it for an obstacle course for kids on their bikes. I don't know, just something. Skateboarders, oh, God, no. They have to do all those things and stuff.
Whoop-de-doo this.
Yeah, the whoop-de-doo, yeah. Yeah, the Holiday Island, yeah, let's get the Holiday Islanders. We'll even rent them, we'll even do the skateboard too,
stations.
yeah. So those are basically for the budget, that's what I've got for you. The other stuff I gave you is just kind of reading for, coming up new
Yep.
season. So there you have it.
Well, we appreciate your effort and we appreciate what you do, Janice, and keep doing it. And
Can I ask one question?
sure.
This is really not about the budget. I was just wondering, the activity cards that we came up with last spring sometime, did that work okay for you this year or not? The ones for the,
Oh,
for the renters
for
and
the
the.
renters and the VRBOs and all
Did
that.
that work?
It worked really well because it was well known that people had to contact me to get those passes for their VRBOs. And a lot of people did use those VRBOs and they paid the fee to get in. Some people were, well, gee, that was supposed to be with my rental. Oh, no, it's not. So, they walked away. Yeah, I think there were a couple of times that I had to call the owner to make sure that they were staying there. So it did work out well. I had them in a book. I had the book with everybody in there. So in case they didn't have one, then I could look in the book if I made a copy of it. A lot of the management companies that did some of these, you have Ozark Mountain Properties and the Plumleys did one management company, then Queens or something out of Eureka, they manage a couple of them too, so there's management companies involved. Well, they could scan it into their bottom of their reservation, so people have them on their phones. Because a lot of people have no clue who even owns the place or anything else, it's all done online, and then your reservations are on your phone, so that helped a lot when they had that on their phone, because the companies did that, so, yeah, it was okay in that.
Good, I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah.
So I wonder.
It worked okay. Okay, any other questions? No, okay. Next.
Thank you.
Next, you're up next.
I
I don't know, who's up next.
Whoever they.
Who's next to the barrel?
Fish in a barrel, go get it.
Carl, you fold, do I have a clicker or do you just want to click for me?
I'll click if you get it on.
Thanks, John.
I don't know, Lauren, John's setting the bar pretty high here.
I have a PowerPoint as well.
Yeah, I have
Okay.
two.
Okay.
I know you already got copies, Danny. Huh. Okay, so did you find PowerPoint or my drive?
Oh my God, mucking out the ponds is $75,000. Jeez.
View minimize there. Well, it's on that drive. I just need to find that drive.
I should try to see drive.
Okay, this is me. Okay, we just hit the start slide up here. Okay. So this is my first item here is the mucking out and removal of the ponds. So ponds go through a process where they age, sediment, nutrients flow into them. Our first problem is pond on 12 where their wall is collapsing in. It's been like that since I've been here, and it's been on the budget to the capital improvement the last couple of years to try and just replace the wall. And we've pushed it off and pushed it off. And now we have issue with our other pond on 14 where this 12 pond eventually flows into the 14th pond. And it's probably my worst eyesore on the course. It's just started to build up so much vegetation and so much sediment and nutrient runoff in there. Eventually these ponds turn into bogs. I mean, it's just the process of pond aging. So tough one. It's a pretty large construction job. Both these ponds would have to be completely drained. To redo that wall, we'll have to completely pump the pond out, redo the base, and then regrade, rebuild the pond wall. We'd reuse the same blocks, and then we would regrade up to those blocks would make it easier for us to maintain. Obviously, it's unsightly. And they need to be mucked out. So a track hoe would get down in there, we clean all that muck out. We'd probably have to dump them, bury that muck down at the depot. This guy, Fleetwood Services, I tried to get bids from a lot of people on this. He was the only one who would do it with just me and Google Earth and blueprints. So he hasn't been out to actually for a site visit. So I can certainly try and get more bids. This bid for $149,000 includes mucking out both the ponds, rebuilding the wall, as well as regrading and regrassing up to that pond wall. I know it's a big ticket, $149,000. It's actually a very reasonable bid, if you ask me. So it's something that I think is probably the biggest eyesore on the golf course. I probably get the most complaints about how that pond looks.
And is that for both ponds?
That is for both ponds, yeah. I mean, obviously, we're not doing anything there's no wall around the pond on the 14th, but it would be for mucking out both ponds, and then rebuilding the wall on 12. That stuff on the surface there is called duckweed, and actually the water underneath is very clear. It's not as nasty as it looks. And I do have herbicide to spray out the duckweed. I just have trouble staying on top of it. It comes at me so quick. And then when it gets that bad, and I would have to spray out the whole pond. If I sprayed it out all at once, when that vegetation dies, it sucks the oxygen out of the pond, and I would start to get fish kill. I sprayed it a number of times in sections this summer to try and maintain a clear water surface, and it would grow back faster than I could spray that. By the time I got all the way around, the other side was already growing back. And I did actually experience a little bit of fish kill from the herbicide. And at that point, I just stopped treating it. And in the winter time, it's going to frost and that duckweed's going to die, and it'll look better through the winter, but it's not going to get any better. We're going to continue to fight it every summer, the vegetation in that pond, and the walls just continue to collapse more and more. The blocks there's several blocks that are on the bottom of the pond now. So that's what we're dealing with the ponds on the golf course. So
I think it's important to recognize that these ponds are not just for aesthetics. They're part of the rainwater elimination process, how the water moves down Holiday Island Drive, down from the hill and flows down through this low area and back into that green moss covered pond, and then ultimately down into a ravine and on to Table Rock Lake. And it's unfortunate that this exists, and I've seen the picture on the right, I've seen two golfers trying to retrieve their golf balls that have fallen into the water.
Give up on the golf.
it is also
having it dug back out to its original depth might not be a good thing for those two guys. But I think for the rainwater issue, it's important that at some point we deal with this. And I know I've mentioned to the mayor and their appetite on the city side for maybe seeking grants, but I'm wondering if there might be some EPA opportunities, since it's not aesthetics. It's about a real system that allows the water to mechanically move. And so that's my spiel.
Where you were before, the golf course you've been at, or have you had anything like this? Is that the way they corrected it there?
Yep, I've been through pond renovations at my previous golf course. It wasn't because it got to the point where the pond needed to be redone. It was just, they were revamping, we redid a whole $2 million construction process, and it involved redoing the pond. So I've been involved in pond construction. I feel comfortable with the process. And it definitely needs to happen sooner or later. Also, the pond on the left, the 14, it loses water quite rapidly. It's leaking through the bottom. I can't even get it up to the spillway because it's actually worn out an area underneath where our spillway is. So, and as sediment builds up, we're we're just getting less and less water in that pond every year. And I do have a pond fill, which you see me, I get calls when I turn it on because people think there's a big leak or something like that. But I actually have that's connected to our irrigation system that will turn on and we'll refill it. But as much fresh water as I pump in there, you know, it doesn't help the vegetation process at this point, so.
Is there like a valve on the spillway of that pond?
A
Down the
valve on
bottom
the
of it?
spillway. No, there's no valve on the actual culvert that takes it from there out into the creek that runs through the woods, yeah.
Have we tried grass carp?
No, there are some carp in there. That's certainly something I could do. We could certainly, you know,
I
dump
know,
some grass carp in there.
In Iowa, we lived on a golf course and they had a pond that had a similar.
Yeah.
It was ironic, that golf course had probably 6 ponds in total, but only one of them really had the grow hair problem. And actually, some of the members of the golf club went to a fish farm and purchased some of the grass carp and introduced them into that pond, and at least for that year, eliminated the problem, so.
I think that pond is beyond that, but I don't know. We can certainly
Well,
try it.
I'm
If we want to put it off another year, throw some grass carp in there and see if that helps us out, then certainly willing to try.
There's a
It
lot of
doesn't
muck
fix
on
the
that.
wall
It
though.
doesn't certainly doesn't fix the wall, and if we're gonna come out here and we're gonna drain the pond and fix the wall and muck it out, we should just do 14, because he's gonna be out here with, you know, mobilization and transporting his equipment is 20,000 right there, so.
How would you get that? How would you get equipment? into that pond?
They'll drive a traco right down those banks in there.
Probably come in from the fairway
Yeah.
side, maybe.
They'll do it. It'll be like, it's a nasty job, and we're gonna have to close down, you know, we would move the tees while it's happening. We would move the tees on 14 up, you know, probably all where the ladies' tees are above the hill. And we would probably have to put a temporary pin in the approach before the pond on 12, and we would probably just end up shutting that green down for, you know, a month plus until we get the work done.
There's probably $5,000 worth of balls in those 2 ponds.
Yeah, they're no good.
That pond was built because of the drainage. It was a swamp before you got to the green,
Oh.
a large swamp there. And we did. We dug a pond, and then they later put in the rock walls and stuff and made it very attractive.
Yeah.
At the time that it was built, it was not that attractive, but it served the purpose. Because it was just a bog. You couldn't, I mean, if you were playing golf out there and time you got through number 12, you were infected with mosquitoes.
Say, John, I think you ought to move the water aerobics class to that area. Give them buckets and shovels, they'll clean it up.
Okay, so we can go ahead, and I'm gonna move to my equipment lease. So I'm proposing an equipment lease for this year. We're currently in a lease for fairway units and a top dresser, which are working out great for us. So they're good for the next you know, couple of years, maybe more than that. But now I'm looking at these rough units. So I have 2 of these grasshopper 0 turns, and we use these to mow around trees and the flat areas of the golf course that these 0 turns, this particular 0 turn will handle. It's both of these units have over 2,200 hours on them, and they were purchased in 2012. And as rough as this place is on mowers, I mean, just about every time I send these mowers out, they're breaking down, and I'm towing them back in, and I'm repairing them. So go ahead and go to the next one, Carl. I also have 2 of these Toro Groundsmasters. These are my slope mowers. So they have floating decks. They can handle around the slopes. They're not very efficient mowers. They're slow. They have over 1,800 hours on them. They were purchased in 2014. And between these two groundsmasters and the two grasshoppers, I've spent this summer $2,639 repairing those 4 mowers. And that's just the cost, the repair cost for the parts. That doesn't include the downtime, the labor. So the total cost of ownership of these 4 rough mowers has gone up exponentially in the last couple of years. And it's made it hard to get through the rough with these mowers because they're constantly got something going on with them. So I'm proposing with these high use stuff that we get into a lease deal, a 48-month lease deal. And then we turn these back in before they get to be maintenance headaches and then re-up that lease. So you can go ahead and go to the next one.
John, one question.
Yes.
Did you say that these are leased, the last 4?
No, these all mowers were all purchased before I got here. We've just been running them into the ground.
Have you thought of leasing them?
What's that?
Have you thought of leasing new ones?
Yes, yep, that's what we're gonna get into right here. So, but I'm still items to be replaced. And I have a massive equipment list. And I've gone through every piece of equipment, and then, you know, planned out, you know, when we need to replace this equipment, you know, over the next 20 years. So, and these are the items that are my oldest items that are up for, that I just can't, you know, they're getting to the point where they're not functional.
Right.
I have 2 Cushman trucksters. We use these for hauling debris. And I also use it to pull my Dakota top dresser to top dress greens. We purchased these when I was a sophomore in high school. In 1998. They have 2,500 hours on them. And I mean, gosh, they've been good carts to us. And I'll be darned, we still pull this top dresser full of sand. And I don't know how Marvin, he gets going down the slopes off these greens with a cart of sand on the back. And you know, I worry about the safety of these carts, to be honest, at this point. So, and I also need stuff for hauling debris, better stuff for hauling debris than what I got. So they have over 2,500 hours. So 2 of these Cushmans, the 2 slope mowers, and the 2 grasshoppers are what I would like to trade in. I've been offered $10,000 from Kansas Golf and Turf for those units. I was offered $15,000 from John Deere for those units. Depending on which way we go, I think I can get that $15,000 from either company. I just would have to work with them a little bit. So those are the items that I need to replace, and what I want to now lease to replace these items, we can continue on. So I'm proposing that we go with the Kansas Golf and Turf. So I did get this is the second sheet that you have. I got bids from Kansas Golf and Turf, John Deere, which is PK equipment, and as well as Toro. I didn't include the Toro one on there because it was high priced. They didn't really work with me all that great on the cost, and their numbers at this point have already gone obsolete, and they're gonna add money to their prices. So I didn't go with the Toro. But these are 96-inch Exmark zero turns. So it can mow, it has a floating deck. If the wings on the side, they actually pick up. So they can mow the flat areas around the tees very efficiently. They can also mow the slopes, the flat areas around the fairways. They can also mow the slopes around the tees because they have that floating deck. So I'm wanting to lease 2 of these to replace my 4 mowers that we're turning in. So we're turning in the 2 slope mowers, we're turning in the 2 zero turn mowers that mow the flats. And those are both significantly around 72-inch. And then I would like to get 2 mowers that can mow the place wall to wall, and that are 96-inch mowers. So more efficient, less overhead. And these, I don't know if they broke it down. It doesn't look like they gave me specifically lease for these, like monthly numbers. But the total lease for the Kansas Golf and Turf, which is 2 of these and 2 utility vehicles, was $2,612 a month for 48 months. If you want to click the next slide, Carl. So these are the two Cushman trucksters I would like to lease. So this would pull my top dresser, 23.6 cubic cargo bed for hauling debris and limbs, 32.5 horsepower Kubota gas engine. One of these would go down to the 9-hole to the island. I would keep one up top. The same thing with these two mowers. One of them would be down at the island. One of them would be up top here. So that's the Kansas Golf and Turf lease. Two of these Cushman trucksters, two of the 96-inch zero turns, and that was $2,612.32 a month pre-tax. That's a 48-month fair market value lease that we would take these vehicles, and at the end of this 48 months, we would turn them back into them unless we decided we wanted to purchase them for fair market value, which I seriously doubt.
So, John, when you were a senior in high school, you just said about a sophomore, when you were a senior, we started to lease some equipment. And it was a result of the board going around to each department, and we were over at Golf Operations, and we said, why don't we lease some of this stuff? And the director at that time, we really wasn't all for it, but the board went ahead and did that. And I think it served us well over the years. So I like your plan here. And I think it will work. The big thing about buying these big items, like Janice's 197,000 or your 194 for the ponds and so forth, we have to do them. I mean, we cannot operate a beautiful 27 holes and then continue to, or not keep it up, like Bob brought up about the water flow and so forth. But I guess some people call it kicking the can down the road if you don't do these big maintenance items. But I like the idea of leasing because it's not 200 grand out the door at the same time. And then 4 years later, we spent another 200,000. But I talked to Danny a little bit about it. I talked to Lawrence Blood about it. And our board will discuss it later in the budget process. But I'm wondering if we couldn't have, not the bare minimum, but the amount that we have to keep in reserve. And we're above that now, okay? So I don't know, I forget the figures. It's either 35%. Let's say it's $1 million. I'm just throwing out some figures now. But let's say there's 250,000, 200,000 above that amount. We're still keeping the reserves at where we need to be, and that's earning us about 0.1%, by the way, on these CDs. But if we could pay for some of these big items like the pond and the pool renovation out of the difference between what we have to keep legally in reserve and what we want to physically keep in reserve, we don't really need, in my opinion, it's just me, we don't need 250 or 300,000 extra if we've got things to do that are going to continue to make our golf courses good, and our rec center good, and not kick the can down the road.
Yeah, leasing is certainly the way to go for no matter what. It depends on the piece of equipment. For me, whether I feel like a $1 buyout lease is the way to go, or whether these fair market value leases is the way to go.
Okay.
This high use stuff, the carts, the mowers that we're using for hours and hours every single day. I mean, it just makes sense to just lease them at fair market value, turn them in, keep our repair costs down, especially because I don't have an actual mechanic. I have a shop guy and he's handy. He can change oil, he can do general maintenance. I don't have a full-on mechanic. I call on Kenny and the road department, his mechanic, a lot, with these mower breakdowns. So I do think the $1 buyout made sense for like the fairway units, the lease that we're in now. That was a $1 buyout lease. These fairway units, we only mow fairways twice a week between June, July, August, maybe a little bit on either end. So we're not putting the hours, they're not seeing the wear and tear. It makes sense that we're in that lease, and then we can continue to use those for a period of 10, 15 years, but this stuff that I'm using on a daily basis is no brainer for me to get in this fair market value lease. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide here.
Can I ask one
yes,
question?
absolutely.
And I hate to sound like the stupid one here, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. All right, you're replacing the mowers with that large mower from doing the fairways and the slopes and all that sort of stuff. I'm assuming that you have other mowers sitting that we have now for doing the roughs and things like that?
Those were rough units, so all the mowers that I'm talking about are rough mowers at this point. We replaced the fairway units 3 years ago, with a $1 buyout lease.
Okay,
Yeah.
and those big units will mow the roughs?
Yes, the 96-inch zero turns, yeah, that's what we need for the rough. There's certainly other options. This seemed like the most, they do make me, they're not specifically marketed towards golf course, which makes me a little squirrely. And I asked for demos and people just cannot get equipment right now. And I can't get a demo. I've talked to superintendents who have these and they swear by them. They're turning in their larger bat wing, specifically like the John Deere, these 909As. They're getting rid of those and moving to these because they're more efficient. So I feel comfortable that they'll do what we need to do.
This, by having larger, more efficient equipment, it also impacts your manpower needs.
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Exmark is a top door company.
Is it?
Yeah, they're
So that was the Kansas Golf and Turf lease, the two 96-inch mowers and the two carts. I also need to get some vibratory rollers for the greens and a tractor. And Kansas Golf and Turf doesn't carry those items. So this is a second lease from P&K Equipment, and the estimate that you have also has their version of the utility carts and their version of the mowers, which are more expensive. But what I'm looking at from John Deere is the tractor lease and the vibratory roller lease. So vibratory greens rollers is a huge part of my program. I roll greens more than I mow them because I feel like I can keep a healthier putting surface by not cutting, but still keep speeds and smoothness to the golfer standards by rolling greens. The previous superintendent did not roll greens, hardly ever, but I do it more so than mowing. So I have one set of these vibratory rollers. Now, it's not the whole mower. That is a triplex that we own. It's in good shape. We call those mowers triplexes because there's 3 reels, 3 tires. It's just the units in front. So these units in front that hit the putting surface, they vibrate, and I use them for incorporating sand. So this is after top dressing, and you can see how he's just going over that putting green and just shaking that sand into the canopy. So this provides a smooth, firm putting surface, which is my most important thing out there, is providing smooth, firm putting surfaces. So I have one set of these. They were purchased in 2000. And this year we spent $1,500 rebuilding all the bearings and guts inside of them. They're perfectly fine now, but what I would like to do is take that one set, give it to the 9-hole, because right now he's got no way to roll greens down there, and I would sure like to get him rolling greens down there. So I would like to take this older set, send it to the island, and lease, and this would be a $1 buyout lease for the Vibe rollers at $320 a month for the next 48 months. Okay, you can go ahead, Carl. And this is the other item on the P&K lease that I would like to move forward with. And this is a tractor, a 5045E John Deere tractor. We would have turf tires on it, not that knobby stuff you see there.
used for aerating.
Yeah, exactly. Its primary use would be for pulling my 12-foot finish mower. So along with that lease that we got into 3 years ago with the fairway units, I also purchased a 12-foot pull behind finish mower that has absolutely saved my butt out there these last 3 years, because when these other little smaller mowers go down, I can mow the entire golf, 9 holes in a day with this bigger mower. And we miss spots. It is like too big to get around the trees and little corners and stuff. But if I just need to ring the fairways, ring the tees, It's really saved my butt. It's been a great mower. We're gonna continue to use it. If you want to go to the next slide.
You'll be able to get around those obstacles much better
With the zero
with an
turn.
efficient
Right.
tractor like this.
Well, yeah, and it will get better with
Your
this
poor
tractor.
guy is driving that
Yeah.
archaic old Kubota with a bucket loader on the front of it.
So this is what I currently, so you get back there down to the bottom right corner, that's my 12-foot finish mower. That we mow rough with, and it gets pulled by my Kubota tractor. The Kubota tractor was purchased in 1999. Before we used it as a rough mower, it was still used as a spiker to spike fairways. We put a tractor blower on the back of it to blow leaves. It gets my fert spreader when I gotta fertilize fairways. We use it for a post hole digger. We put a backhoe on the back of it to do irrigation. And now all of a sudden we put rough mowing onto it, and it's starting to see the hours. So what I would like to do is still, this is a good Kubota tractor. There's nothing wrong with it. We do have to repair it every once in a while. Kenny's mechanic down there used to work for the Kubota dealership, so he knows the ins and outs of these tractors. It's still a good tractor, but it's good for, when I need to load sand with the front bucket, or if I need to, use the backhoe, or these little odd jobs with the loader, loading tree limbs or logs. It's really starting to see some wear and tear using it on the rough. And then also what happens is I'll have an irrigation leak where I gotta put the backhoe on the back of it, and now all of a sudden my big rough mower is out of commission. Or I need to go top dress greens down at the 9-hole, so now I gotta drive this tractor all the way down to the island so he can load his top dresser to top dress greens. Well, now that's 2-3 days I'm out of pocket with the rough mower. So the John Deere tractor, $390 a month for 48 months for that lease, very reasonable. It's gonna save me a ton of time, labor, being able to have just dedicated on that finish mower, and then I can use my Kubota, the loader, for all these other little odd jobs that I need to do, and it's gonna take the hours off that 1999 Kubota that we're running it pretty hard right now. Yes.
Isn't that Kubota tractor with the loader on it detrimental to soil compaction too? That seems like an awfully big tractor, to be running down the fairways.
Yep, and again, it's the rough, although I do use that every once in a while on the pinch to mow fairways. But yeah, there's still turf tires on that Kubota tractor. They're not as nice tires as I'd like.
It's just an awfully heavy tractor.
Yeah, but I mean, this tractor that I'm buying is, this is a 54 horsepower Kubota. And I asked P&K Equipment for the smallest, most maneuverable tractor that will pull that 12-foot finish mower, and it's 10 less horsepower. So, I mean, it's still gonna be a larger unit pulling that finish mower. It's still a pretty substantial tractor. But it won't have a front end loader. It'll be more maneuverable. It will have these Galaxy tires on it, which are less impactful than that tractor there. So,
Is the one that you're proposing here, is it 4-wheel?
it is not. It is not 4-wheel drive. It's only 2-wheel drive. I went back and forth on that, and I went out and ran the Kubota. It is a 4-wheel drive tractor, and I can get around the golf course without kicking in 4-wheel drive unless I do something, silly, where I shouldn't get it. So before I decided to make that decision, I did go out and I just mowed the place with the mower just to make sure, it handles everything 2-wheel drive out there pretty good. So those are my 2 lease deals total. So with the Kansas Golf and Turf lease for the 2 mowers and the 2 cars, and for the tractor and the 5 rollers from PK Equipment is $3,222.32 a month for the next 48 months, and that is pre-tax.
How do they tax, where their company's from, or Rica, or how did they tax?
That's Arkansas.
That's Arkansas state tax, I assume.
We have the highest sales tax in the United States.
Okay.
Yeah. So that does need to be factored. Yes.
How does that change your budget, expense wise for, months or years?
My capital budget or my operational?
Based upon switching out the equipment?
My operational? I would think that my operational budget would go down. I mean, just equipment maintenance costs. And then labor, labor is not gonna go down. In fact, I'm gonna ask for more labor here in a second, but it's gonna allow us to be more efficient out on the golf course so that maybe we can start to expand, our like what we're looking at. Because right now I have such a center line approach. We do what we need to do on the greens for sure. Tees, fairways, rough, and then we get to stuff like bunkers, trimming, flower beds, and we just don't have the labor or the time to do it because we have to do greens, tees, fairways. So ultimately, I don't know if it would reduce my operational costs for maintenance, equipment maintenance, and repairs. But really it would just free us up to maybe expand what we take care of out there or do a better job or provide a more quality product.
John, I've seen that you're utilizing some local labor.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're volunteers or if you actually are paying them, but I commend you on that.
Yeah, I
I think
have,
there are people, I know the 9-hole has always existed through the efforts of volunteers.
yeah, unfortunately, it's gone down. I don't have the volunteers that I used to have. I have one good volunteer at the 9-hole who helps David out for free. He mows rough 2 times a week down there. Bruce Bush, great guy. Everybody, I used to have 3 or 4 guys down there on the 9-hole. They're no more. They've all bowed out at this point. And then I have one freebie volunteer.
Larry said he wants to.
I was
volunteer.
one last year, not this year. I'm sorry.
No. I don't blame any of you guys for not,
No,
that's-
So,
Yeah.
John, I think a lot of people probably thought because of the COVID things.
That's really kind of nipped it. It was declining before then, and then COVID hit, and I didn't accept there was a time where I was not, we have a small staff, we work outside. I felt very comfortable bringing in volunteers, getting on the mowers. At this point, we didn't know about surface transfer and stuff like that. So that's really when it just completely stopped. And then we got this one guy back on the 9-hole. And then I also have one freebie volunteer on the 18-hole as well. So, and his name is Tom Winters, and he's been saving my butt on the weekends here the last 2 months since my summer help left. Because what happens is in August, my summer help goes back to school, my 2 college interns. If I didn't have a high school kid this year, but they leave. But in August, I still have the same amount of work to do, and then I lose to my 2 college interns, which is 1/3 of my staff. So Tom has really stepped up on the 18-hole, and then Bruce Bush down on the 9-hole have been helping me out free of charge, and we owe Holiday Island owes them for sure.
Absolutely. The reason I bring this up is I'm wondering if there might be opportunities, people that don't know that, you might be looking for volunteers again.
Yeah, I can certainly put the word out. It's a tough one because my volunteers, it's a rough job. It's dusty, it's dirty, you're bouncing around on those mowers. And in the past, my volunteers haven't had any benefit really, as like the volunteers on the fire department get free golf. I haven't been able to offer, I don't know why, but in the past, and I had 4 or 5 volunteers down there in the 9-hole, and at the one time they were asking, well, we're out here mowing and stuff, why can't we also get free golf? The fire department volunteers get free golf. And for some reason, I said, you guys are absolutely right, but we never could make it work. It's one of those slippery slope things again. If a guy is going to come in and mow, just a couple hours a day, and then ask for golf all summer, you know, we need the revenue from the community and the homeowners and the golfers too. But I do think there is a real opportunity to hire retired gentlemen who like sitting on mowers for minimum wage.
Or women.
Or women, I'm sorry, gentlemen or ladies. Oh, I had Kelly Trahan volunteer last year and she did awesome on the mower. She kicked butt on that mower. So yeah, no, men or women, but I think we gotta pay them minimum wage and get them on the payroll. And I think a lot of my seasonal work could be done by these retired guys. But if we get them on the payroll, and we pay them $11 an hour and I schedule them, you know, 2 or 3 days a week, 20 hours a week. And then because they're on my payroll, they do get free golf.
Yeah.
But then they're held to those hours and I can rely on them to show up. So there's an opportunity for good seasonal employment around here.
Why don't you and Lauren put your head together and make a proposal to the district manager and because volunteerism is, I think there's a huge opportunity in our community and look at the board.
Yeah.
They pay us so much.
But you're right. I mean, if they're gonna sweat out there on 95-degree day,
Yeah.
running a mower for you for 5 or 6 hours, they deserve something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Linda?
I was gonna say, I know it might not work out to give them a full activity card, but why couldn't you knock a few bucks off the activity card for a few
Yeah.
hours work?
Well, there's some sort of a voucher program
Perhaps.
where they, they complete 40 hours of work, they get something, in return, and so.
I like the idea.
Put your heads together, make a proposal.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, so there's my track, you can go ahead, Carl. And so payroll, so now that we're talking about employees, we can talk payroll. I would like to add 2 seasonal $11 an hour employees. And these would be 40-hour-a-week employees from March through October, possibly filled with a retired person mowing or a student, a high school kid. So that's 1,120 hours. We're looking at $12,320 per employee, which is a total of $24,640 of additional payroll for these 2 $11 an hour employees. One of them would specifically be at the 9-hole. I've got David Treat in place down there. He's done awesome, just taking control of that island course, really taking it off my plate. But now he needs to have somebody underneath him that he can manage to do the detail work, because we are still missing the detail work down at the island big time. The weed eating and stuff like that. And a lot of that gets done by volunteers like Vern Anderson. Vern's even gone so far as to pay high school kids out of his pocket to weed eat around the ponds and stuff. So we need to move in the direction of us being able to take care of this. So I'd like for David, my one person who takes care of that 9-hole course, to have 1 seasonal person that he manages. I think it's also important to get David Treat starting to think about management, because if I were you guys, he's one that I would really want to hang on to, and he's smart enough, he's got the skills, he just needs the management experience that he could come in, and if I'm go somewhere else down the line, that he could step in and do it. But he needs some management experience, so that's part of it. Sometimes I feel like, he's literally on an island down there, by himself. And
PJ is listening, he's taking our meeting minutes. I'm gonna have her strike that from the record about if you go somewhere.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
So, but I would like to give him some reliable help down there. And then another seasonal would be up top with me. So I would also like to, again, give payroll increases to key employees, specifically Tyler and David, who I rely upon. They're everything to me. If we would lose these guys, it would not be a good situation. And they haven't seen payroll increases in a couple of years. And it's time. They've taken on more responsibility. David certainly has taken on more responsibility. Tyler's just taking control of this irrigation system for me. So it's something I'd like to do. I did put specifics on the back page. We need to share, specifics with everybody, although we can. It's all just, it's public knowledge, I'm sure. So that would be the payroll increases. So an overview, the pond renovations for $150,000. The total lease package for the 2 mowers, the 2 utility carts, the tractor and the vibratory rollers, $3,322 per month. An additional $35,066 in payroll. I did have an option. This is a tough one to go about, but I do have an option if I could cut a full-time employee. It's not something that I want to do. It would be very uncomfortable. But if it means me getting more seasonal employees, I do think that myself, Tyler, David, Treat, down at the 9 hole, myself and Tyler up top, and one guy in the shop maintenance is enough to carry me through the winter. We have one more than that currently. In the winter time, we do a lot of tree work. He works full-time hours. We end up waxing and cleaning machinery, doing detail work in the shop through the winter. We do have a lot of winter work to do, but if it means getting the labor more when I need it, I would be willing to cut 1 full-time employee to be able to hire 2 seasonal. That would save us $13,440 in payroll. So that would be a total, if we did cut 1 full-time employee, $21,626 payroll increase. And then, of course, the trade-in value of the grasshoppers and the grounds masters is $10,000 to $15,000. Again, Kansas Golf and Turf offered me $10,000. John Deere offered me $15,000. Now we're not going with the whole lease for John Deere, so I don't know if I say, look, I'm not going to buy your rough mowers. I'm not going to buy your utility carts. I am going to lease the tractor. I am going to lease the vibe rollers. Whether they'll still give me that $15,000. We are going with the whole Kansas Golf and Turf lease, and they offered me 10. I can certainly go back to them and say, look, John Deere offered me 15. I think they'll give me 15 if John Deere won't, because we're not going with their whole lease package. So I think I could pretty comfortably say we're going to get $15,000 for those old units, and that's where I'm at. So that's all this year. I didn't put anything for the rest of the next years for the capital improvement. I do have it here. 2023, I'm looking at replacing the sprayer at the 9 hole and doing some painting and replacing siding up at Fort Apache. If you notice, if you play hole number 18 and you look at the back of my building, all the paint's falling off of it. It's been peppered with golf balls, and all the siding around Fort Apache is ready to be replaced at this point. So I have that coming up in 2023. And then 2024, I'm going to start talking about another lease, and this time it's going to be for utility carts as well as greens mowers, which will be coming up in the next 2 years. And then also 2024, 2025, I want to look at start doing bunker renovations. So that's where we're at. I pretty well got a handle on the greens and the fairways, tees, and the rough. We're in pretty decent shape. And I get a lot of complaints about the bunkers, and they get a lot of rocks in them. They aren't built like a proper bunker should be built. So it's basically what they are now is a hole in the ground with sand in it. What should happen is there should be drainage, and there should be a liner. There should be a liner that separates the sand from the native soil, which is rock. Because currently with our holes in the ground with sand in them, if you put finer over coarser, so we're putting a finer sand over coarser, eventually those rocks work their way up to the surface. And then, I could spend all day picking rocks out. The next time it rains, we're going to have a bunch of rocks in the bunkers. So they need to be dug out. We would do some type of liner drainage, and then put new fresh sand in them. But that's all down the road, 2024, 2025. So
You okay with me if you got rid of a few of those things?
Well, we did get rid of all of them on the 9-hole. And because with just one person down there, they just turned into pits of weeds. And it's really made a big difference visually, I think, just being able to mow through those. We just did that in-house. And a bunker renovation is something that I could do in-house, to be honest. We have the equipment, but I would need temp labor is what I would do. I would need to hire 10 hombres or something to just for rake work, shovel work. And I could do this project in-house. There's 100 different bunker liner products we could go through, from spraying on capillary concrete to carpets, I mean, anything. So I would just have to start researching those and get prices per square foot. We don't have a lot of bunkers. So it's certainly something that we should start planning on doing in the future, because I think besides the ponds, they're the next big eyesore and headache for us.
John, do you handle the driving range, or is that Lauren's?
That's Lauren. We kind of tag team it, but I pawn it off as much as I can.
They pawned it on to Barry and I inherited it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
John,
Yeah.
the cost of chemicals,
Yep.
and like everything that we see today, escalating prices, are you seeing the same for fertilizers and pesticides?
Yep, a little bit. The fertilizers and pesticides haven't been too bad. The bad one's been grass seed. Has really taken a big jump. But we don't oversee here, so it's not really an issue for us. I'm asking that my line items, my operational line items, I can operate within that again for next year. So we can keep that. Currently, I think I have $62,000 in my chemical and fertilizer line item budget, and I spend every penny of that, but I can get it in there. And that's with us, again, just treating tees, fairways, greens. I don't do anything in the rough as far as fertilizer, overseeding, pre-emergence for weeds. I mean, these are all things that a lot of golf courses do. We just don't do them. So we just operate on that center line approach, and I do what I can for the center of the golf course, and everything else kind of goes by the wayside a little bit. But as of right now, I early order. In fact, I'm in the process of doing this right now, is ordering all my fertilizer and chemicals for 2022 right now. And I get this year's prices. I order it all by the end of November. But we don't receive the products until January. And because we do that, because I early order, we get quite a big of a rebate. We end up getting almost $4,500 back from doing early order, which then allows me to kind of operate inside that chemical budget. So as long as that chemical budget stays where it's at for the time being, I've got my early order information. We're processing it now, and we'll be able to work within that line item.
Good. Well, I commend you on your preparation.
Okay.
I commend you on your foresightedness to have a business plan, for the years forward. And
I have,
keep up the good work.
and if I didn't put it on here, but if any of the commissioners would like to see the full equipment list and how we have what needs to be replaced now through the next 20 years, I'd be happy to go over that and show that with you guys. I try to space it out, so that we're, just replacing a couple pieces of equipment at a time. And we don't get into a situation where everything is no good all at once, because that's when we'll really be.
What's your end of life term? 22 years, that one?
I think I went all the way
The
to
Kubota
20.
was 22 years.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, I'm doing silly stuff like depreciating my Dakota truck out 20 years. Who depreciates the truck out 20 years? I don't know, but I'm doing it just because I'm trying to stay, as reasonably as possible. Should I be driving that Dakota truck for 20 years? I don't know, but we'll keep it going. We can do it. So it
Stay
is
off the interstate.
Yeah, it is quite the operation. We have to plan it out, but we have to look, that far in the future to make sure we don't get into a situation where all of a sudden everything's junk.
And John, I want to echo what the chairman said. Good work on all this, and just in case anyone in the room does not know, he just became a certified golf superintendent, one of about 17, I believe, in the entire state of Arkansas. And we have one of them right here at Holiday Island. Really excited to have you, John.
Thank you.
I wanted to echo Danny's comment about Janice and John and Lauren, and Danny, in case one of you had to leave. But we're really, really happy you're here. You do a tremendous job every day. You don't get a lot of kudos for it. We don't get a lot of chance to thank you, but all four of you, we really appreciate you.
Well, I'll pass on the love to my staff
Thank you.
because that's, those guys, I mean, we're small but mighty, maybe my four full staff where they work their butt off. So thank you, I appreciate it. So Lawrence's budget.
Yeah, mine is budget presentation.
Yeah.
Well,
Commissioner Stamps.
I gotta say, I am not as prepared as John. I will lead with that. So.
Commissioner Stamps does have to leave. He's got an obligation.
I do. I will study it, I promise.
Oh, you're fine. So it's just, those are just budget things. I don't actually, oh, you're bailing, huh? Oh, man. Just, I was waiting for some of your colloquialisms.
I gave mine to Keith.
I am missing one.
Thank you.
If you could pass that to Danny when the time comes. So, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
How is everyone so far?
Hungry.
Okay, my bad. Well, mine is briefer and I'm not as well prepared. No, you're fine. No, don't worry. You've done your work already, have you not? Yeah. Okay, so, oh, he's gone. Well, we'll just wait. Mine is pretty, I mean, my main budgetary concerns right now, as far as capital improvements are concerned, are, well, maybe I'll just go over there and click this stuff, or should I wait for Carl? I should wait. I'll just wait, I'll relax. Well, what you have in front of you is a budget proposal for the garage doors that you need to repair on our storage unit. And then it has two proposals from cart companies that do leases on golf carts. I don't have the cost comparison. Well, I know the cost currently of our golf carts versus the cost of the golf carts and that, but I don't have a full fleshed out thing. I was thinking that next week when we go in line by line, I'm more further elaborate that, but this, I prefer this maybe more of a Q&A thing. So if you see a line item up there or whatever, one of these bullet points, ask some questions and I'll have the answers for you. So as I said before, my first thought, I don't know if this is my primary concern, but we've seen an increase of rounds obviously from 2020 to 2021. I mean, through 2020 was self-inflicted somewhat, but we still have seen an increase, and I weighed it against 2019 as well. So we've seen an increase from 2019 to 2021. So
Oh, really?
yes, on rounds to date.
Good.
It's not significant, but I mean, it's about 1,000 rounds. So that's pretty good. But I've noticed on our weekends, Saturday, Sunday, Friday specifically, I'm having to take a look at our tee sheets and anticipate cart usage, right? Currently, if we had a full tee sheet in the morning and all the players required golf carts, we have 2.5 hours worth of golf we can send out. On average, the golf round lasts about 4 hours. So that leaves us about 1.5 hours. If we had a tee sheet full, we wouldn't have golf carts to send people to the driving range, to send people on the golf course at all, aside from people with their own carts. And we do have a large number of golfers who have their own carts here. So oftentimes we can kind of skate through these mornings kind of unscathed, but we've gotten very close this year to running out of golf carts, where we're sending somebody with a tee time, having to make them wait. And I don't think that's, I don't want to provide that as a, I don't think that's good service in my opinion. So my proposal is our total fleets included with the 9-hole, we have 51 golf carts in total. I think we should increase that to 65, giving us 50 at this golf course and leaving them with 15 down there, which isn't really an increase in numbers down there. I think Janice, do you have enough golf carts to service what you have?
Yeah.
So I don't think Janice needs an increase in golf carts, but I think we do up there. We also have, the first line item says we've been having increase in rounds. And then we also have tournaments where we have over 100 players. If we have 100 players, that's 50 golf carts. A lot of the tournaments that we have, we don't have an incredible member participation, so it does rely on the fact that we have these golf carts to rent out for these things. We have to shuttle the golf carts from the 9-hole course. So for instance, this Elks tournament will probably take 8 to 10 golf carts from that course, leaving them with 4. So they'll have 4 golf carts, effectively shutting down golf at the 9-hole course while we're shutting down golf at the 18-hole course for outside play, unless you're participating in the tournament. So in this instance, if we did increase that, we'd be able to avoid that. And another thing that costs us is really day on the golf course for somebody in maintenance or somebody from my staff. We got to send 1 or 2 people down there to shuttle. And it takes approximately 30 minutes to shuttle 2 golf carts on a trailer. So really, if you're doing 10, that's about, it's a good amount of time. When we don't really have extra personnel to send to do that. So I kind of think that this is a solution to that. It also may have a ramification on the cart personnel that I have cleaning the golf carts. It might provide them a little leeway, maybe to provide more other tasks, restrooms. They operate as our janitorial staff currently. So as unfair as that may be, it would free them up to do more of that stuff. And a nicer clubhouse is, I think that would be better for everyone. You can see on the second page of this staple here, this is the Yamaha proposal. It doesn't have the total, but currently our cart lease with Yamaha for 40 or 51 golf carts is, I don't have the numbers on there, Carl, sorry. It's $25,925. That's what our current lease is for 51 golf carts. And they're also kind of coming to term as well. So we're going to have to look at this regardless, renewing our lease with the current numbers of carts, which will be an increase. I think that's going to increase to about almost 30,000 a year. So if we go to 65, I believe the total cost pre-tax will be $37,082.50. So it's about a $12,000 increase per year for the golf carts. If we just maintain our current fleet, it would still be an increase of about $4,000. So either way, we're going to be looking at renewing a lease. One would be an increase of $4,000 to maintain our current fleet, and one would be an increase of $12,000 to increase to 50. That potential time where we're not able to send golfers out, that hour and a half represents about $2,200. So if we did hit that situation where we had more than 2.5 hours booked in the morning, we could be losing out, roughly $2,000 per weekend day. Because on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have league play, so that blocks up most of our daytime play. I just think it would be prudent. It might allow us to have larger tournaments, more exposure. I think it pays for itself eventually.
Lauren, what's your income per year from the golf cart?
From the golf carts? Well, that's one of the things I have. So total for golf carts, just with the cart leaves, I think it's 12,654. That's to date though, for the beginning of the calendar year to now. So that doesn't accrue for the later months, but I don't think that will be, it's not going to be a huge increase. Most people who have cart lease are the ones that are going to be playing in the off season.
So we're currently paying 30,000
Correct.
a year, and so far we've taken in only 12.
No, that's incorrect. I'm sorry. It's 31,029. That's like with cart lease. So the golf pass, the cart pass, when the person is leasing a cart from us. So a lot of the guys have this annual cart lease with us, which is $575 for a non-property owner and $505 for a property owner.
Right.
That's that number. So it's approximately 43,000, annually. And then that doesn't include for the.
43?
Mhm.
Okay.
So it falls in those numbers. I think that, like I say, it represents a potential revenue loss to me, really, if we're not able to send out golfers on a Saturday or Sunday. I mean, those are our prime days, right? And if I'm having to kind of block the tee sheet, which I've had to look through tee sheets, you know, I'm anticipating we have 30 golf carts going out. I need to know that I'm gonna have my golf carts for my 12 o'clock tee times too. And right now, I can't know that, you know?
No, I understand.
I mean, just anecdotally, since I live on the golf course, you can tell on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's all of your regular carts from the,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not the people that live here.
No, it's our HISID carts. They're going out quite a bit. And then also, you know, more rounds is more wear and tear on those golf carts as well. So
I know from my experience with my employer, before I retired, you know, I was a member of the Florida Golf Superintendents Association, which represented about 1,700 golf courses. And at every meeting I went to, they said, we make our money in two areas,
golf carts,
and food and beverage.
yeah, food and beverage. Correct.
And we definitely need to be in a position to take advantage of those two opportunities.
Well, with that being,
We've
you know,
got to start looking for ways to.
I agree.
Run a better business.
Well, so I don't know if this is on my next slide, but it is in relation. I would say, I'm also pitching that we expand our Marshall program, a Marshall / starter. I'd like to have a Marshall starter 7 days a week. So that's an operation, that's a staffing issue, but I think with that, we'd have a cleaner tee sheet in the sense we're gonna get each seat utilized more often. And I think that the presence of that person there would clean up a lot of the issues and it would fully utilize our seats, where we have a little bit of a problem with that now. I mean, whether it be from locals, I mean, I honestly think it's more the guys that are comfortable here that take advantage of that, right? Than it is the out of towners. Out of towners are used to pairing up. They're used to doing that when they go to another golf course. Whereas you got the guy who's coming out from, you know, wherever out around here, he comes over and he's used to doing that on league day or whatever, for instance.
Sure.
And I think the presence of a Marshall starter might clean up some of that. And maybe it's a data issue. Maybe if we have that, maybe 36 golf carts up there is enough. I don't know. But either way, in the tournaments, we still have to shuttle these golf carts up and down. And I think in the long term, it's better to be able to house that, because effectively when we have a tournament up there, we close the golf course down. No one can play. If you just want to play a regular round of golf, we only have the 9-hole. I don't want to send them to Berryville, but if I have all the golf carts from there, then how do we do that?
Sure.
And then maybe we have more utilization of the 9-hole as well.
Lauren, on the Marshall, I was here 16 years ago. We had about 12 years ago for a part. It didn't last very long.
No.
Are you saying that would speed the play and you would get your carts back quicker?
No, I'm not suggesting that. I mean, that might be a byproduct as well. I mean, you might see an increase in speed, but you just see better utilization of the seats that are going out.
Okay.
You know, I don't know if it's just through habit, but a lot of the guys that play golf here on a regular basis will just take an individual cart. And maybe it's a byproduct of COVID as well, because we were forcing them for a while to go single to a cart. I just think that it would just better utilize the seats we have. If we had somebody down there on the tee box, getting people started. If they see a single and they see another single, they're gonna pair them up. Often these guys aren't gonna do it on their own, even though I've suggested countless times with these people. I don't like to use the word threaten, but I've suggested that they should pay for both seats, you know, with signage and different things. And nothing seems to work long-term. So the only thing I can think of is having surveillance down at the tee box and kind of monitoring the course throughout the day.
Okay.
And that guy can kind of double up as well, washing carts or other tasks as well. But I have that on a slide.
One last question. Could you give them a pass for the year in terms of, instead of money, dollars?
Well, Pete currently is doing Saturday and Sunday. Pete Peterson, he's been volunteering for the golf course, doing this basically, pairing people up Saturday and Sunday. Even with him down there, some of our current members are just, they're not non-compliant basically. And with that, I mean, you hardly want to throw somebody out or penalize them some way like that. It doesn't feel good. And it's not, it's not a good situation, but I think that overall with presence down there, yeah, I mean, he's doing it in trade. He is doing it in trade, basically as you're suggesting.
Okay.
So perhaps it is something where we could volunteer that position, try to get some local guys that everyone knows already. And maybe that's the person that can kind of waylay this.
Big guys.
Yeah, big guys,
Big guys.
big guys with a stick, right? Maybe that's what everybody said. I'm not sure.
I hate to ask anything since I'm probably the one that knows the least about this
No,
sort of
no, it's
stuff,
good.
but could we look at our cart usage fee that we do for those people? And if they want a single cart, they pay this
They
amount?
should be.
And if they're willing to pair up with somebody on a league
Well, that's
day?
currently what it is supposed to be. Currently, it's $14 a seat, right? It's $14 a seat, and if you're playing in a foursome with HISID carts, each seat is supposed to be occupied by a player.
Uh-huh.
It's just, we don't have the surveillance out there to make sure they're doing it. Once we check them in, we're seeing them, and obviously want to pair up. I have signage everywhere. They know that they are supposed to pair up. Now, people know they're not supposed to drive drunk. People know they're not supposed to do lots of things, but they do them anyways. And the minute they're out of eye shot, they're gonna do what they want anyways.
Yeah.
So if you had somebody there, monitoring these kind of behaviors, I think it would clean up some issues around the course that people complain about, right? So whether it is a position that we pay or we go through volunteers, I think it's a needed position. So, but that is on
I have
one
a
of my
feeling
lists.
it's a job you'd have to pay for.
I think it is because it's a loveless job.
Yeah,
People
right.
beat up that person.
Volunteers wouldn't last long.
Yeah, they don't, yeah, exactly. So, staffing budget. So I want to raise for the people that work through 2020 for me, right? The kitchen personnel, obviously all my cashiers, my cart guys, they endured a lot this last year. I think they deserve a raise. I don't know what that amount is, but he was talking about yeah, yes, exactly. So with the restaurant wage budget, I don't think I've actually utilized my budget this year, but it's not through lack of effort to find staff, but I can't find people at work. Currently, I know the starting wage in Eureka for cooks is between $13 and $15 an hour. We pay 11. So I don't know that I will get applicants currently. With that being said, I have a new hire. We're trying, I'm hoping. Prognosis doesn't seem good. First 4 days, late every day, hours. So,
Hours late?
yeah, I told him next time, just don't come. We're done.
Jeez.
We'll talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, we also talked about getting a liquor license, right? I guess the city is offering liquor license. That's a position that we'd have to pay. So the potential bartender position would be in that wage burden. And then I'd like to have 4 cooks total, where right now we operate with 2. And me on Tuesdays, right? And I do a lot of the other cooking as far as tournaments and that stuff. And it's not an ideal situation. I'm able, so I must, but it's not ideal. So I think that budget there, that's just the wage budget. It's obvious it's an operational budget, but I think with that, we would accommodate all those tasks. If I can get the applicants, I can get raises for the people that currently work for me. I might be able to offer that $13 to $15 an hour for the next person that comes in, which I think is appropriate. Currently, my number 2, Robin, is making $11 an hour. So, we gotta get them right. Pro shop thing, the pro shop wage budget, I'd like to add a starter marshal 7 days a week. Currently, Pete's volunteering Saturday and Sunday, which maybe he would volunteer more. And really, I don't know if we need a marshal during those league days. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that those are some of the more guilty days of not pairing up, right? And they have a meeting, they talk about pairing up, and it works for a week or 2, and then they just kind of slowly devolve. But I watched cards all of 2020 because we had people just kind of precautionarily go out. One of my guys, Joe, he's just not in good health, so he took leave. I watched cards all year. On the day, one of his days that he works was Thursday. Those Thursdays, they use 30 carts for 45 golfers, okay? And a lot of the golfers have their own carts. So as soon as I get these carts, I gotta wash basically 3 hours worth of golf carts before, it's not necessarily before we get carts out, but our tee times start at 10 o'clock. That league specifically doesn't end usually till, it depends on the time of year, around 11 o'clock. So we're not seeing those golf carts back. So basically I have 10 golf carts that I can rent out at that point. And 10 golf carts represents 5 tee times. That's about half hours of tee times. It's just, that's why I suggest more carts. So, and I'd like to add a janitor, you know, I don't know if it's a full-time position, but I think asking the cart people to do it, it's working, but it doesn't work great all the time. It just depends on usage of carts. So if we have a busy Friday or Saturday, it's hard for them to get to all the stuff, basically with the hours that we're allotting right now.
Janitor for,
The clubhouse, like just the restrooms basically, and just, you know, I don't know exactly know. Currently, I'm trying to get Leroy to do it a little bit on Sunday, coming in on Sunday and just doing like one a day and seeing how that works. It seems to be working okay. But throughout the week, it kind of can diminish just depending on what's going on with carts. So, again, maybe if that starter position is there, maybe we can spread out that responsibility between the two guys. You know what I mean? Maybe there's a little overlap in between where they can both pair up on something like that. I don't know.
Lauren, I have
Yes.
a question for you, and this is for Danny also. I know this is a workshop and we don't make any decisions or motions.
Sure.
here, But with your difficulty of getting people, and I've been to Eureka a lot, and every place has it.
They're having
Every
problems.
place. And I know you worked at a famous restaurant over there for many years. Is it possible, Danny, that you could just approve going from 11 to maybe even 12 or 13 immediately, so we can start to fill those positions up there for cooks?
I mean, I know it's hard to ask for the money, right? Like, but I don't know if, I mean, I don't know the incentive to work out here as opposed to Eureka.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know why a cook with credentials would choose here over Eureka.
Well, to answer your question, sure that, yes, that is possible, and I just got a message from our accountant just a little bit ago that we're almost finished all the way through September.
Okay.
With all the monthlies, and I'll have a much better handle on where we're at with our budget by probably today or tomorrow.
Thank you, Dan. The reason I bring that up, Lauren, is I don't want to lose you and I don't
No.
want to wear you out because
Yeah.
you're doing a great job. Everybody that goes up there, my church members, Sunday, there was 16 there. I mean, you can only take 16, they fill the place.
Right
They have
now,
Great breakfast, great lunch and so forth. And you're getting in there on Tuesday and also on the Elks tournament coming up Saturday. I know you're busy just about every day and all of it is not golf. You're
No.
on the entertainment side.
Well, I mean, you know, it is what it is right now. So, you know, I'm not complaining about it.
I know,
It just,
you did.
you know,
And let me tell you, we appreciate that attitude.
Yeah.
We do what has to be done.
That's
But
it.
yeah, when I went up on Tuesday and got a lunch to go, I thought, oh my God, Laura's back there having to cook.
That's okay. You should use me while I'm there, because otherwise that's worse. That's worse if I'm in there cooking and I'm just, if I'm not cooking, then I'm cleaning the fryers or the dirty work. I'd rather be cooking the food. So just let me do
I
that.
remember that.
Yes, put me to work cooking burgers. Much rather cook burgers than clean fryers.
Okay.
Let's jump to the next one. Okay, so in the clubhouse, a lot of these renovations, I don't necessarily think as immediate concerns, so this could be spread out across a couple of years, really. The broken storage doors, I do see as a main issue. They're an eyesore. Obviously, the bid I got was actually pretty reasonable. I was expecting more, but he quoted me at 15.2 for 16 garage doors, and that's installation as
I
well.
know. I was
That's pretty
surprised.
decent. I'm not mad at that at all. I think that's what we should address right away. And they also, if we're renting them out with golf carts, they represent $600 a year. So in 2 years, that will pay for itself. You know, if we have them fully rented, I just think that whether you're just looking at that or just making it look nice, I do think it should look nice, and we've had a struggle with that. And I don't exactly know why, but you know, budgets just got pushed back, kick the can down the road, as you say. That's happened a lot with the clubhouse.
Well, this fellow, the garage door ninjas, we got a bid
Yeah.
from Bob Dyer,
Yeah.
recommended on the internet, and I used them last Friday.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, he's a very nice young man, and you were right, it was a good recommendation. Somebody else recommended me He didn't say the name of the company. He just gave me a guy's number. I called him up, the same guy. So I was trying to get multiple bids, but it ended up calling the same guy. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Anyways, he was very nice and, yeah, I do think, I mean, aside from that, I think the proposal was very reasonable.
Yeah.
I was expecting more because I had gotten quoted before $1,200 a door.
How
So
many, Lauren, how many of those units are rented for golf carts only and other storage?
well, I don't have the numbers at the top at my disposal right at this moment. But I know the majority of the line against, away from the golf course or whatever, furthest from the clubhouse, those are mostly golf carts.
Okay.
Now, I know personally, I know that Deb has storage in there. A couple other people have storage in there, but I don't think many people actually are using them for storage. I would like to get away from that.
Okay.
I mean, I know it's a way to utilize the space and to get units rented, but it's kind of tricky. So if you have somebody just leave up, then you're kind of stuck with their stuff for over a year.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you know, I mean, this community has all sorts of strange things, but, you know, I would say that, you know, if someone passes away, there's a lot of different things that could happen where you get stuck with somebody's storage unit, and there's like a process where you have to photograph all this stuff and you have to have an auction and different things before you can actually just dispose of their things.
Right. Well, my vote, if I had one, would be to try to get them all for golf cart storage and let the places around here, there's about 6 of them, have that as their business. That's what they do for a living.
I agree.
Lauren, how much is that monthly?
For
those units?
Well, for a golf cart, it's $350 for a electric and $325 for gas or something like that. And then we only offer monthly for the storage units, and it's $35 a month. So $350 or a little bit more than that a year, whatever, $35 a month. Okay. But I still think, you know, it's not a lot of money. And then also really, there's not a lot of oversight down there. You know, we don't have a bunch of security down there. So if somebody's storing things, I think it's a liability in a way, because we don't have video monitoring down there. There's not a gated area where it's locked. So it's kind of like store at your own risk. And we've had issues where somebody's tried to break into the golf or into some of the storage stores, you know, try to cut the locks and stuff like that. So, I mean, obviously you want to use the units, right? But I don't know. It's certainly a headache, the storage aspect of it, even if as little as we have of it. I would like to get out of that portion of it and have it all for golf carts.
Okay.
That being said, you know, if we do fix those doors, or we could utilize them for our golf carts too. We have no way to secure our golf carts currently. I don't have this on this proposal, but I'm trying to think of a way to where we could secure our golf carts. You know, we could run a coated wire across the front and the back and lock them every night. That's just a deterrent though, right? That's just would irritate a thief more than anything. They'll still cut it eventually. We haven't had any real issues there, but certainly there's a potential for that, right? I don't know, that's something to be discussed too, but I don't know if that's something, I don't know how to do that. I don't have a good plan for that yet. I don't know where that would go. We don't have room for a cart barn necessarily, so I don't know what that looks like yet. So I don't have a firm proposal on that, but I do think it's something we should consider for the future. The bathrooms in the clubhouse, we renovated one set of the bathrooms and it looks quite nice. The other ones, they're functional, and they just need to be updated. Anthony was supposed to get a bid to me. He's a little late on it. So I just have a rough estimate what I think that would cost. You know, I think the 2 bathrooms in the front area next to in the pro shop, it's about 360 square feet. I think it probably cost somewhere between $90 and $150 a square foot to renovate a bathroom commercially. So I'm guessing it'd probably be about 33,000, somewhere between 33,000 and 50,000 to renovate those bathrooms. That's just a guess. Again, not a firm bid. Anthony is drawing me up something, he just didn't get it to me when I needed it. So
What was it for the ones you did already?
20, we spent 20 on those. So he might keep it in that ballpark. I don't know if he's able or not, but it could be there. So if that's the case, then that's a win, right? Again, I don't think that's more of a want than a need.
Mhm.
We can do that. I think the storage doors takes precedent over that, but I do eventually want to do that, so maybe, 2023, 2024, something like that, we do that. In our dining room, we have carpeted area where people sit. It is a nuisance to clean. It doesn't look good when it's dirty. I think a vinyl plank floor that kind of matches what we have currently would go a long way in there as far as appearance. I don't know if it would do anything for the acoustics. I know that room has unusual acoustics. It's quite loud in that room when people are talking. So
How would the vinyl planking work with people wearing golf shoes?
that's a concern. Yeah, I mean, it is a slicker surface. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that would work. But I mean, we do have an area in both the pro shop and the dining room that is vinyl planking, right? And the ballroom is linoleum. So, I mean, people walk on those surfaces. I guess it would pose a slight risk, but I don't think it would be anything that would be of concern.
You don't notice it damaging the floor?
Oh, no, the golf cleats themselves, you won't wear metal cleats anymore. They're like plastic
All
rubber.
soft,
Yeah, they're all soft. It doesn't affect it's not gonna damage the floor. No, so I think it would overall be an upgrade for the space, just for cleaning purposes alone. It's very hard to clean that space.
I agree with you on the carpet in that dining room.
It's
It's
unusual.
nasty.
Yeah, I cleaned it before we opened again, and within 2 months, it was in that
But
state.
the acoustics are worse.
The
And that's
acoustics are
the
bad.
only soft surface
That's the
to a
only
sound, absorb sound.
Yeah, that's the only
Some
thing I can think about.
acoustic wall panels or something.
Perhaps, yeah,
you
that
know.
might be something to look at. Because
White
they,
noise,
Hmm?
white noise.
white noise.
Something, because boy, sound just.
It bounces in that room.
I know enough to injecting me, but they
That's
suggest
great.
clouds.
Hmm?
You put clouds in rooms for noise and rooms like that, it's a cloud, they cut out of a soundboard and they put fabric on it, and
Oh.
it absorbs it, and you just put it up in
Yeah,
the ceiling.
There's space in there to do something
And
like
you can
that.
do some clouds and then.
I mean, I'm open to suggestions, so.
We did that in the gym at the school that I was at. It was just, everything was a hard surface and it was exactly what you described. It was acoustic board covered by some sort of fabric and they just put them all over the wall and it really did help.
I think I mean, that would be my only drawback to put the vinyl planking in that room is the sound. Cause I know it's loud, so if somebody talking in here, if you're over here, you're hearing most of their conversation and not hearing what's going on at your table. So, I don't know, but again, that's not a huge budgetary item. That probably is 800 square foot room. It's gonna cost like $3,000 to do whatever in there with the flooring. And even probably included with the sound, even soundboards or however we deal with that issue in the future. But again, that's a want. That's not gonna, make or break next year. Again, a want, the downstairs is, again, I think probably was renovated in John's sophomore year.
Yes,
So,
yes.
It needs to be updated, and that could be just as simple as painting stuff.
I'm not sure John was born when that.
I don't think so either. I didn't know that 1998 was his sophomore year, because that was my senior year, and that made me feel old. So that's not good.
Well, too bad.
Yeah, too bad. Okay. And
Welcome to our
then,
world.
I don't have a bid on that. It'd probably be pretty expensive really to do what I want down there, but that's again a want. That's not a need of any.
How much is that area utilized?
That's the other thing. It's not utilized as much as it could be. But some card groups use it. The game room is down there. It's totally underutilized. The bathrooms don't get utilized. That's why I haven't really focused on the bathrooms down there. It would be nice to turn those into locker rooms for our members, but I don't know that they use them because they never used them in the past. We have that little library people use. Actually, the library might be the most utilized space in there. We do have like card groups that play in the little office room.
Clubs.
There's little clubs that
Little
use it from
clubs.
different
There's
stuff.
not as many now because
Yeah.
COVID stopped so much.
Yeah, it did stop a lot of stuff. So,
Well,
I
maybe,
think it's
maybe
something
we need to,
push it.
brainstorm.
Yeah, we need to get it
generators or
utilized
whatever.
because I mean, it is a large space that is underutilized. I had this dream of turning it into the cardboard because it's so underutilized. So just gut all that stuff and make a garage door and park carts in there, right? I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure most of those walls have something to do with structure, so I don't know if that would, I don't know if that would work so good. That's a dream.
Why don't you move your
Pro shop?
pro shop?
Originally, it was
It
down
was.
there, wasn't
That,
it?
Yeah.
that down there where they can also serve as marshals
It,
and convert the existing pro shop into a really nice
I don't hate that
restaurant.
idea. I don't hate that idea. But
Especially if you get liquor by the three.
if we do that, then it would maybe make sense to have that space as a bar room and then move that down there. Then you're kind of pushing out the card players and all that stuff, which again, I mean, that might be too political of a topic to discuss. I don't want to push out anybody, but yes, that would be a space to do that. But then you have to have twice the personnel, right? So all of a sudden, with the pro shop, we're operating with one cashier for both the restaurant and the pro shop. That turns into two people. So, or maybe more, really, if it's just isolated as a restaurant. I don't know. But I don't hate the idea, right? If it goes liquor by the drink, as he said, we will have to incorporate another person up there anyways in the front. So,
We need to generate revenue.
correct.
Well,
correct.
but the reason that a lot of the groups use that room at A is what we call it, which was the original pro shop, is that's the only place in Holly Island that the group can meet for no cost.
Right.
It
It's very,
costs,
it's like
if you go to the
$65
island
a
room
year.
and you're a group of Holiday Island people that are doing something, playing cards or whatever, you have to pay. And so that's the reason that room became popular.
It is, yes, and it also has a wonderful storage space for people's cards and stuff like that, because all these groups have utilized those closets. I think they have to pay though, as a group, like $65 a year.
Yes, I think you're
It's-
right.
It's something minimal
I
though,
think,
but they
yeah.
can utilize storage space as well, and so,
Went through that a couple
it's kind of a hairy worm, if you know what I
I
mean.
need to store my
Hey,
jet ski.
well, it's 1:30 and we've still got to get to.
Okay,
Medina and
Keep on
Calgary.
punching, keep on punching.
Let's-
I have very
Let's
small
roll through
amount,
the- I know everyone's exhausted.
yeah.
Yeah, we got a 6 o'clock meeting.
I don't know why I look at that. So in the restaurant, I think we need a walk-in refrigerator / freezer. We operate with freestanding units. It's difficult to house a golf tournament. It's difficult to find the space, this sort of stuff. I think we need a commercial dishwasher. That helps facilitate, I mean, really, that would help with budgeting personnel. Currently, our cooks run the food, they bust the tables, they wash the dishes, right? And they cook the food. So if we had a commercial dishwasher, that would lighten that load a little bit. Right now, we hand wash and we have a sanitizer. I mean, it works, but the last thing you want to do if you are busy is wash an hour worth of dishes, right? And then the ice machine is up and running, but the other day it was on the fritz. I think that's in the cards sometime in the future. I don't know if it's something we want to tackle now. I have some relative numbers on that. I can get you numbers on those things, but the dishwasher unit, we can get on lease through our purveyor, right? So that should cost us nothing aside from chemicals.
Lauren, when a golfer comes in and wants a little igloo filled out,
Sure.
does that ice come from John across the street?
Yeah, we go get the ice over
You
there.
don't have any ice?
We don't have an
machine?
ice machine, yeah.
Why is that over the years?
I'm not 100% sure. I don't really know why, but it never was when I got the.
Do you have room for one?
We could find space probably in the ballroom area, in the ballroom kitchen. I have ideas for that kitchen too, but
I think it really is needed.
I think that something like that, or even a space where the ice machine was accessible to the golfer himself, right?
Yeah.
I've seen courses set up that way where the golfer just gets his own ice for different stuff, right? Or even have like a small drink station, something like that.
And is there room in the kitchen for a walk-in?
Well, it depends on how you do it. So there's a back where we have our freestanding units. You could kind of retool that space. You could look at my office space to retool that and maybe change some of the storage situations between the different groups. The office used to be kind of near the ballroom. Like there's an office there where we have freestanding freezers in there and like just different storage stuff. But there's like right at the top of the stairwell to the right, there's a door. There's an office space there.
Okay.
I mean, there would be a way to do it, or you could get a freestanding unit, but then you have to doctor that up. I think that'd be more cost effective to get a freestanding unit. But then you have to figure out where to put it. Should be in close proximity to the kitchen. But
See,
really,
that's what I thought you were talking about, was a freestanding one,
would-
but inside the
it
kitchen.
would probably have to go somewhere where you wouldn't want it, but you'd have to build something to make it look good, where it would have to go, because it would have to go in that front lawn area, pretty much. That's the closest spot to the kitchen that we could get, that I would think. Something like that. But these are things to think about. I have, I'll get a bid on putting one somewhere in the facility versus putting one just freestanding where you just buy a box, basically. But it certainly would make it a lot easier to navigate our space if we had something like that. Because I mean, I suggested you get more refrigerators, more freezers, but where to put those either, so. But that's all I got. That's the last slide. That's the last slide.
I think we've asked you plenty of questions during your presentation.
Yeah,
And we thank you.
Thank
and,
you.
I thank you.
Continue to look for ways to make your operation more efficient
That's it.
and generate more money, obviously.
We gotta get it, we gotta get more money out of there.
The pressure's on,
I know.
you're in the focus.
I know.
Alex,
I appreciate the vote.
Alex,
Yeah, I asked.
Yeah,
Question,
certainly.
are you still tracking the amount of revenue that comes from resident golfers and how much
Versus-
comes from non-resident golfers?
Certainly, yes.
And what is that figure amount roughly?
Well, so. Got me digging now. Well, I don't have the right sheet with me, but I know that it represents. Our play this year, we had 4,000 rounds of property owner golf versus about 1,800 of non-property owner golf. So it's, I would say it's about 2/3 or 2/3 property owner, 1/3 non.
That's changed drastically. then.
Yes,
So
certainly.
It used to be more like 50% or more was coming from non-resident.
50%,
That's what it used to be.
really. Well,
That's why I
2020
asked.
was terrible, right? 2020 was a bad reflection of what that is, but if that was, I don't know. In 2019, it wasn't that number either. So that 50% number, again, it was similar to that
That's why I
1/3.
asked to be updated, because I
Yeah.
haven't heard about that.
Yeah, I mean, we are getting a lot of rounds out though. I mean, I know on the weekends, we are quite busy with outside
That's
golf.
all good news.
So, yeah, it is good.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. If you want, reach out and I'll get a more firm number for you on that.
Okay, I might come by
Yeah,
and see you.
yeah, come on.
Thank you.
Welcome, Danny.
I'm Danny Albright. I've been the campground host for 9 years. The address down there is 21 North Star Loop, and I've owned property in here since about 2003. So first of all, I am in terms of staff, I'm it. I'm the janitor, the grass keeper, the plumber when needed, and we've had a good year this year.
Good.
I'd say probably 50% of our business this year have been homeowners because there's a lot of buying and a lot of remodeling going on. We have 31 sites down there. On an average, we've probably been, well, this past weekend, it was just unbelievable with the craft shows. Next weekend is even greater because of the Mini Cooper rally. I probably had 20 sites filled this last week. Total number, as of this weekend, we've probably ran through about 265 visitors that have come through. I've had people from California to Pennsylvania to New Jersey, Texas, Florida, Kentucky have been in here. Many of them are coming to use the marina, the golf courses, swimming pool, if I can remember to get my passes signed, and they get into them. So basically, I've collected quite a bit of money for this season. It's definitely a record for us. Right off the top of the head, I know we're budgeted about $12,000. By my paperwork, I've collected right at $28,000 this year. So that's kind of where I'm at. Just that's unofficial. That's just an old building principal, athletic director that wrote down, this is what I collected this week. Okay, and in terms of PowerPoints, I haven't done a PowerPoint in 10 years, and that was the last time I presented, so I could not leave any child behind.
An old building principal and a coach, we can relate, right?
That's right. So
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Because I honestly don't, I have used your campground as a dump station for my RV
Yes.
a couple of times. But is the campground only, you can only rent to property owners or not?
No, the campground, the history of the campground that and I'm sure I met Larry the other day because he supplied me with some firewood. But the campground has always been open. There's always been non-property owner rates and property owner rates.
Oh, I
So
see.
there is a difference of about $12 a night between a property owner and a non-property owner.
Okay.
And it's always been, now, whether or not long-term staying, you know, on a non-property owner, Lawrence and I had to kind of put in a little clause a year or two ago, because in the campground business and particularly in this area, you could meet some different types of characters that are looking to live as cheaply as you can.
Nice to
You know, when they
He's
come
a
in,
politician.
Very tactful.
when you come in with a car and, you know, a hatchback and you want to stay for a month, you kind of got to look at some of that stuff. I do take in a lot, we do have a lot of tent camping business because there are a lot of couples, older couples that are traveling to come to Eureka Springs. And a lot of the campgrounds won't take tent campers, and it's cheaper way. We remodeled the bathrooms through with the help of the Rotary Club and High Hall 5 years ago. Re-roofed everything. The district re-roofed the pavilion, the bathroom, and so everything down there in terms of what we use on site is in great shape. What I probably will need to get with Danny, but one of the requests is updating some picnic tables. You know, some of the picnic tables have been there and they're really heavy in the rains and they're out in the season, all the seasons. So they're beginning to rot away and stuff like that. But for the most part, most of the stuff that I need done is just done that our maintenance guys can do. Or
Well-
volunteers, like I need a ditch backhoe out from, because when it rains, everything's going to the lake.
But it appeared to me when I was down there that there are sites that need to be resurfaced
But that's another issue. Some of the
and
sites,
perhaps leveled.
right, last year, March of 2020, I brought my own, I have a tractor and a box blade. And so I brought that out and I box blade out some of those, and then Kenny got me some rock, some base rock, and we put some base rock down. But there's probably about 8 sites that could use, like what some of the other sites were put in when it was first built, some concrete runways that would level that out. But the uniqueness of this campground, the reason why people come is because it's different
Yeah.
than a lot.
Yeah.
It's not like your Texas and Florida campgrounds that you're going to go in and everything's paid. These guys get creative and they're putting boards down and, you know, and I'm a scrapper. I see something out, I just keep it, hey, I need more, here you go. And we get them leveled out. And with your newer units now, so many of them have automatic levelers that it levels it up.
That's true.
But yeah, Ken, go ahead.
If I'm in Kansas City and I want to rent a spot for this weekend, I call you on your cell phone?
You can call me, the campground phone has it, and I have, if I'm not there, because my office is my fifth wheel.
Right.
If I'm not there, if I'm outside, I repeat my cell phone 3 times on that
Okay.
message. So that because I get on the voicemails, I can hear them, that's 417, you know, so they're calling me back 2 or 3 times, so I repeat it. I took a call today at 8 o'clock this morning for a site for this weekend.
And then you take, if I want to stay 2 nights and it's $40 a night, you take $80 and put it on for my visa?
We have no credits, cash or check.
Okay.
And you know, over the years, they did not want, I've even tried to send people over to run it through, let them pay their credit card here.
Yeah.
It's just the expense of setting that up because we're April to October.
Sure.
And I started get, the phone device where I could scan a card like that. But then that's expensive. I'd have to run it through my account. So I'm right up front. Most people are traveling. They're saying, hey, no problem. I can pay the cash.
What's the average cost per night?
For a non-property owner, when you round it off, I've been running it at $25 a night. That's water, sewer, and electric. On that, you have no washer dryers, there's no Wi-Fi or anything like that. They're basically coming here to get away from the crowds.
Right.
And it's a beautiful
Yeah.
campground.
I just had a couple come up for War Eagle from Louisiana. They love, you put them on that wood side over there, they feel like they're out in nature.
Mhm.
But,
Well, Danny, it's very well kept.
Yeah.
well, and
I appreciate the extra work that you do with, whether it's a shovel or a weed eater or whatever, I go by there pretty often. You and I've met out there several times, and you're always working on something, and we
well,
appreciate it.
these guys behind me, it's more expensive for them to run what they have to run. And I can get by because we make it work. And if I need something, I talk to Dan or I talk to Kenny. And if we can't, I've got a plumber and electrician that comes in whenever I call. And that would be one thing maintenance wise that going along the lines of resurfacing is make sure that, I can get with Dan maybe during the winter, make sure the sewer lines are, there's a lot of trees. And I have one issue with one sewer down there that I think there's some root problems in there. And we may need to dig that up and take a look at it.
Is there a lift station down there, Danny?
No, well, yeah, the district has the one that they check it every day. That's just around by the pavilion.
Okay.
So every morning, a white HISID truck's going down and checking it.
Okay.
And the other thing is I have a lot of people that live here. If they call me and they've come back from Florida for the winter, if they call me in advance and say, hey, Danny, can I come dump my tanks? If they call me, I have the pull through. I just tell them, use the pull through, and I don't charge them.
Yeah. You're
But
nice.
out of courtesy, call me.
Yeah.
So to go back to your question, I have cell phones with me except today, because I'm either texting or I've got a Facebook page, Holiday Island, Arkansas Campground on Facebook. There's pictures all over the place, because once social media, I got on social media, that is the only positive thing I will say for getting your product out, because I just don't look me up on Facebook, because I can't explain this place to you. You have to see. And many times I've had people pull in and say, how in the did I get here? Because State Line Drive is quite an adventure, and you smell the brakes and I've seen it all too. And I was in education for 32 years. I've learned more about society running a campground for 9 years.
Oh, I bet. I can't imagine backing something into some of those sites.
Yeah.
That's what I tell these guys. It's the best place to come practice, because I coached for 32 years. I can stand there and say, come on, you're here, go that way, good job.
You don't slap them on the butt, though.
No, I used to have, my wife gets on me, get away from those guys. Nobody, I said, dude, I don't want to hit a tree, but I do offer, I can help you back in, or I can talk to your wife so you don't scream at her.
Yeah. Been there.
Or they can buy an $80,000 pickup to press the button in the back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you've been down there, kids, and you know how it works. So.
Danny, I know you're well connected in this community, and you probably heard the rumblings that there was an investor that was interested in making a proposal about a long-term lease of the campground. And just from the preliminary stuff that we were, that this investor shared with us, over a period of a number of years, he would intend to make several $100,000 worth of improvements, improve or replace the restroom facilities, put in a laundry, and also maybe offer kayaks and that kind of thing, and possibly work with the Corps of Engineer about access to the lake. Look, that is not before us now, but because you're passionate about Holiday Island and the campground in particular, and looking forward, down the road, do you think it would be smart business for us to do something like that and maybe get proposals from a number of different investors? And
I told Danny this when I saw the newsletter, about this particular proposal. I get it from your viewpoint. As an investor, my biggest concern is if you're going to still utilize, how's that going to affect, if an investor comes in and does it, how does that affect the property owner? Who's actually paying the assessments? Who's keeping that particular amenity available? That was my only question, because I'd say I'd say close to 65% of that business down there is someone that is a property owner, homeowner, their relatives. There's 80-year-old mothers that live here that their kids come to stay, like last year during COVID, we were able to open up a little bit. A lot of the sons and daughters came and stayed in their trailers so that they could go visit their mom outside. So that would be my only question is, if you do turn it over, because an investor and taking it over is going to have to raise the rates.
Sure.
And then you're going to have to, the expense of the big thing that everybody asks me about is Wi-Fi. Well, Cox Cable, one of your providers, is not a cheap route to go, and so that's going to be expensive. What I've done is I have Wi-Fi put in my trailer that I pay for myself. I just give them my password. I had 3 guys. I had a doctor sitting at a picnic table at my trailer doing his receptionist was gone one day, so he's visiting patients on his laptop because and that's how I make it work, because that's what makes it go in. I don't know if you turn it into an investor like that. If you're going to, you got to sell the product. I mean, I camped in there for 2 years. You look at your 2010, 11 and 2012 receipts. There was Memorial Day. I have to turn people down. Memorial Day in 2012, there was 3 trailers in that campground. Mine, the host, and some other guy who owns property down there. It amazed me because I walk around there. How many places can you sit and watch a hawk come down and eat a snake? I showed Danny the picture. I say the hawk's life. The snake was killing this hawk in a campground. And that's how you sell the place.
Yeah.
So consequently, I tell them, go to the golf courses. You want to play 2 beautiful golf courses? We got a great marina. The rec center. So
well,
that's what the point I'm trying to make, Bob, is will that person would that promote what I was told when I was interviewed? This isn't a joke that I had. He's my 6th district manager.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
The guy that hired.
We didn't tell him that. Why did you
I
tell him
already told
that?
him. Well, no. When Lawrence left, I didn't know what to do because he was the longest one that wasn't here over 18.
we got a shot call. Can't wander off.
The guy that hired me was a guy named Hartley. I don't know, Ken, if you know.
Yes, that's a long time ago.
He wanted me to be an ambassador to Holiday Island. I go, what's an ambassador to Holiday Island?
Just what you're doing.
And so that's what I do. I'm an old coach. I can shoot the breeze with anybody, and that's how I do it. I wing it.
Yeah.
That's why there's no PowerPoint like these young pups, because we can make it work.
And one last thing I wanted to say is, I had 2 friends who built homes and stayed at your campground for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful homes, right here, one's on the island, one's up on Leatherwood. And they just loved it. They had a big pushers, and I think they're in that one that Suzanne mentioned, Pulsford.
Yeah.
And they just loved it down there.
Well, I've got Gordon Harris is building over here on Lakeside. I've got I got Lob Otter's got his trailers in because his former neighbors are trying to build a house. There's, right now, if you went down there this past weekend, you couldn't, when you come around the first curve, it's just nothing but motor homes and fifth wheels. But right now, currently, I have 10 full timers in there because they're trying to get their houses done, and they've got 2 weeks before I have to close their down. And they know I usually come back about mid-March, and about 1st of January, my phone starts ringing, hey, can I get my spot? And I take excellent notes, and I remember, oh yeah, I remember you, and I have to look back, oh yeah.
Do you leave your unit down or?
I have, because, and I did this because the first couple of years I'd pull it home, and when I'd come back, there's a lot of activity. I mean, where we're located, that's right on, literally on the state line. And I mean.
Some of it extends across.
Yes, according to Google Earth. And what's
According to our
scary,
plat map.
yeah, and what's scary is last year, the last 2 weekends of October, I had to ask a gentleman not to come in, and he was coming in at 7 in the morning and parking his truck, and he was going on the Missouri side, and he was bow hunting. And the owner on that property every year, when I come back, puts up new posted signs. So he's even added more. That's really even closer to what a campground is. And I tell all the folks to come in and don't go back there because it's not our property. I got this young guy in there this last weekend. He goes, hey, you know, there's a deer stand right over there. And I said, yeah, and next weekend I wouldn't be walking out there if I was you.
Right.
Because you don't know. So yeah, so I leave my trailer because since I've done that, I've not had as much activity. I've come back to the pavilion area, I had to pick up, trash. I mean, because it's turned into, it's kind of a party area. It's off the beaten path, and it's real dark down there.
Have you had any trouble with feral hogs down there?
I hear them.
You did?
I hear them. On the wooden side, I've heard the grunting. I've not seen any come through there.
Okay.
But I have heard them in the past.
Okay.
And one of the guys who was from California that has this house up on Holiday Island Drive that's turned out, he come in the other day. He's terrified because he saw one right behind him, right up here on Holiday Island.
That's scary.
So I mean, I've heard them in there. I know they're in there. So.
Do you have any idea whether the deputy patrols down there?
Yes.
I'm thinking of the off season, because you're right, that's a great party place.
Yeah.
And when there's nobody there.
Right. Yeah, you get down there, the most sought after site number 20, that's the closest one down to where you go to the lake. And even when I'm in there, I have to be, I mean, I on the weekends, I stay up later than normal because I can't see what drives down there. And when I see people driving, I'm a nosy person. I want to know who's coming in here because we had an electronic bike stolen a couple of weeks ago. And the camper made the mistake of leaving it out. And the only way they could have come in, they had to come in between 11 o'clock and 6:30 in the morning to literally walk the bike out. And the guy didn't chain it up. And he was, but to answer your question, we called the deputy, and the deputy did come out there. Yes, it does need to be patrolled. And as far as the kayak, the biggest mistake that Holiday Island did on the campground, they were ahead of their time because very few places around this area has full hookups, water, sewer, and electric with 30 and 50 amps. It's not making it the access for a road down to the lake. And Larry and I talked about that because Larry brought me over a bunch of firewood. That's one way of revenue. Buy my gas for my mowers that the district provide, and I sell stuff. I sell firewood, and a lot of people come, especially the locals, and that's even better because it's trees of this area, and then you're not transporting from other states because we get them from all over the country. Just as usual. I know I'm Dan, but if there's anything else, I will give it Dan.
Well, no, thank you, because I knew absolutely nothing other than I was able to drive down there and dump my RV and it was like November, so nobody was there, you know.
Kenny locks up, he winterizes the bathroom, and then when I leave, I kill the power. And I've even padlocked that, because, and I know, I can tell when I get back and I live west of Joplin, so I come down quite a bit during the November, December to check on stuff anyway. And I lost my good neighbor across the street, Charlie McKinney.
Yeah.
But I still got Jeannie on the curb and I
Gina
got,
ran.
yeah, and I got another guy that lives around the other, and they watch that. They got my phone numbers, and I think Linda's gonna stay for a while, but she, you know, if she sees something, they text me. And but when I come down in December, I can tell someone's coming in because, you know, they're sneaking in and sleeping in their cars, or maybe down in their stand. And I get people who want to come in, but I just don't think it's wise to keep it open during the winter, because we had to replace a main water line anyhow this year to the bathroom. So
Can it be locked off at all?
what's that?
Can there be a gate put across the road?
Well, there was talk about it, but still, the problem would be is, as Kenny said, they would drive across the grass because, you know,
It needs to keep out the honest people.
and you gotta, then the water guys gotta get down to check the left end, so they check that
It's been a long time since I've been down there. I was figuring it was
Come
like
down.
car
there,
ditches,
get a
you know,
chance,
on
come
the
down
side
by
of the
this
road.
weekend. If they tell me if they're coming, like they said they're coming, it will have a good crowd.
Good.
So,
Thank you.
Well, Danny, I want to thank you.
thank you. Bob.
Thank you.
And I also want to thank you for everything you've done this summer for Glenda McKinney while Charlie was
Yeah,
in a hospital, and
yeah.
unfortunately, he was
Yeah.
taken away from us by COVID.
We,
But,
they
it meant a lot to her and to her friends, so.
Charlie, you know, Charlie was older than me, and I got to know him after he adopted the little poodles, and they walk in the campground. Charlie grew up an hour from where I grew up at.
Oh,
The
gosh.
high school that he attended was in the same league that the high school that I attended. So the nursing home his mother was in, the people around, I knew names. And when his brother came down last year, they used the pavilion Saturday night for their get in. They released a lot of sorrow that day. Vernon and I were talking, heck, his wife, I still referee basketball games at the junior high that his wife went to high school at. So it's, and
Brothers from other mothers.
yeah, well, and that's how I kept that, because I know they'll watch my stuff and they'll let me know when stuff comes up.
Well, it did not go unnoticed.
Yeah.
And thank you very much,
All
sir.
right, thank you, sir.
Thank you for all you do.
Hey, sorry, guys. All right.
That's right.
Click on
There he is.
there you go. And then,
Yeah. Do you need more firewood at all? No.
spotlight for everyone.
I think those little blue dots up there might make him bigger.
Double click. on it.
We can live with the size. We can have some
Yeah.
voice.
He's the only one that makes.
Are y'all trying to make me bigger? If you hit the top right, it should say view.
I can hear
View
you
speaker.
talking.
Yeah.
How do I make you bigger? There.
There
There.
you go. Wow. Just too big.
That's too
Good
big.
morning, or good afternoon.
Whichever one it is now. It's been a few hours, hasn't it?
Yeah, been a long morning.
We're getting over.
Yeah. Colin Polk here, Holiday Island Marina operator.
Can that be turned up, please?
I'm working on it. Is it all?
I'm all the way up.
I'm carrying around my.
We can turn the volume up
My
there.
allergies are terrible.
Are you close to your mic, Colin?
I'm on my laptop. I could probably turn myself down.
Louder, I guess.
Yeah, let me.
You can,
Use your umpire voice.
It says you're
Yes.
on high, okay,
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
yes,
Barbara, if you want to move up, you can,
to the table.
like that
Up by
chair
the
Danny was
speakers.
sitting in, or
I'm just having trouble hearing. You're up there?
sure.
Thank you.
Action.
All right, sir. You have the stage.
Okay, the marina is a pretty easy one, for budgetary concerns, at least as far as normal, yearly budgets go. Kind of want to touch on, 2020 and, we'll hit on that a little bit, or 2021, wow. We got the wells pulled, so the gas spill situation's all over with. I mean, as far as the cables are done, so as far as the marina goes and big yearly budgetary items, we're basically just on our regular page as far as replacing deck boards. And really, there's only a couple more places that needs to happen. The courtesy dock needs its boards replaced, as well as some boards on the gas dock. Not all the boards on the gas dock, but that's probably our biggest fix next year would be just replacing those boards. We do have a slight electrical issue on a couple of the docks. Nothing major, but on dock 3, the lights stay on always all the time. So not a terrible issue, but we do want them to turn off during the daytime. So that small issue, those 2 small issues would really be it for our budget. I do want to get some more cameras. We did have that theft about a month ago. Our cameras that we installed a few years ago caught the thief. We gave the footage over to the deputies who had the culprit's name within 24 hours from our footage. So that's good. However, on their way out, they did destroy a few of our cameras in the process. So we're looking to go from the old wired cameras that we were using to some newer wireless ones. I've got a couple sets of night owls that I've used personally, and they seem to work really well. They have great quality. They do audio as well, and you can get up to 10 camera systems. And right now we're on 8. So for about $600, we can redo our whole camera system wirelessly, and then be back up to the security we need to be to hopefully not have another theft, but we know how life goes. So those would be our big upgrades for next year. It's nothing major. I would like to raise the rates at the marina. Currently, Eagle Rock and Big M, which would be our 2 closest marinas. Well, I say closest. Starkey is one of our closest marinas, but they're on the opposite end of the lake and have a bigger clientele, so their rate could be a little bit higher than ours. However, Eagle Rock and Big M are about $200 to $250 more expensive per slip. And so that's across the board. Their 30-foot slips are $240 higher than ours. The 28-foot slips are $220 higher than ours, and they're going up 5% next year. So that's going to put us even further behind. Whenever first in 2015, we did 5% increases for 5 years to catch up. We barely caught up, and right as we caught up, they increased their prices. So it's been 2 years since we've raised our rates. I feel like it's definitely time, especially since COVID hit. Rates have gone up on pretty much absolutely everything in the world. They should definitely go up on slip rates as well as I know the rates in the industry as far as flotation, steel, wood decking especially, those have all increased. So the capital improvements that I'm going to try and push for this upcoming year will probably be a little bit higher in cost. And so raising our rates would make sense to keep up with inflation in the current year. And that being said, I would like to go into the capital improvement area. This year was actually supposed to be last year. We were going to get a new walkway for the first dock, that almost 200-foot long walkway. Because of COVID last year, we put off all capital improvement budgets till this year. So the walkway is supposed to be installed next month. I hear it's in their shop right now getting welded up. So that being said, we're a year back. Originally, pre-COVID, I was going to recommend that we replace the entirety of Dock 2, which are entirely 9-foot by 20-foot slips. Most boats made now are 8'6" wide, and they're longer than 20 feet, which makes those slips really hard to fill. And at the time, we were close to a 50% fill rate for that dock. Since COVID hit, however, we are pretty full in the whole entire marina. Carl might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have 3 slips that are empty. So can't replace that dock and it actually make us money. So I recommend that we keep the dock and instead add to the 4th dock and add to the 3rd dock. I've already got a contractor working on a small quote just so we can get an estimate. Normally I would be able to estimate about what it would cost, but since COVID hit, I have no idea what the prices of galvanizing and things like that have done to the market. So normally I would have said 100,000 would have given us 8 new slips, 3 28-footers, 3 30-footers, and then I'd like to have 2 houseboat slips, which would be like 12 or 14 by 36 or 40. So those 2 slips you could charge $3,000 a year for. We'd have to upgrade the electric. Most houseboat slips would have 220, which I believe is feasible. In the location we're going to put it, I'd like to add that onto the 3rd dock. On the 4th dock, I'd like to add 3 28-footers and 3 30-footers. And that would give an extra income of $10,400. And since we are on the topic of incomes and new capital budgets, new improvements that make the district money, according to my contract, that would have to be renegotiated, or not renegotiated, but we would have to negotiate the new items that made us money. My recommended rate that I would like to receive from those docks would be 0%. That would leave the district making 100% off of the new capital improvement budgets, which I definitely think could be paid for within a 10-year period of time and increase the revenue for the district. Any questions so far?
Yeah, Colin, I have one. Ken Brown. And for a person with any kind of a slip, say went up 5% or 10%, or like we did 5 years in a row, what additional value would they get other than the other 2 nearby marinas are charging more? What if I had a boat, which I don't anymore, but if I had a 20-foot, 21-foot boat pontoon, what would be, if I paid $100, $200 more a year, what would the marina give me or provide to me that would be a benefit to me?
Well, that's a good question. And previously, for the last raises that we did from 2015 to 2019, I would say that whenever we got there in 2015, we remodeled the store. The next year we added restrooms to the dock, which would be the infrastructure of water and wastewater down there, pump out, things like that. So for those previous increases, we definitely had something to show for it, even though most of those increases were just catching up with inflation. So unfortunately, you wouldn't have that much to show for your increases other than just inflation.
When did they replace the styrofoam with the black? That was quite a few years ago, right? With the black.
That was already sorted out before I started, but they replaced it the first year that I was here, so that would have been 2015.
Okay. Do you think, did you say that Carl said you had 3 empty slips? That's all? 3?
Yes.
For the whole marina?
I'm sorry?
There's 3 empty slips only for the whole marina?
Yes.
Okay.
And they're all 9x20s.
Colin, the company that's manufacturing the new walkway down to Dock 1, did they give you an ETA when they expect to install that walkway? I know but it was budgeted back in
March, I just looked.
Yeah.
It was budgeted back in 2019. wasn't
Yeah,
it?
but I mean, we approved it in March. I didn't realize it hadn't been put in.
November?
Well, it was approved back in 2019, and right as we were going out for bids, the COVID happened. So we canceled everything. The next year, whenever we finally got the approval to continue and proceed, we went out to bids. That's where we got AmeriCorps approved in March.
Right.
They did say that it would probably not be installed until September. Talks with them recently went from October to now it's beginning of November, middle of November. So it'll be here next month, according to AmeriCorps.
Okay. A lot of things get blamed on COVID, don't they? It's amazing.
I'd have loved to have had that walkway last year.
Colin, Ken again, what is your, how is your sales been as far as rental boats? You've got really nice boats out there now. What does the summer look like for you?
It was good. It was real similar to last year's summer. I did try and get 3 more boats this year. However, my boat dealer they were supposed to get me 4 this year, and then they only ended up getting me 1 before telling me that they weren't going to be able to fulfill the other orders. So, and that's a problem with the whole boat market. If you find a used boat, you're very lucky, especially if it's a good deal. So the sales are going great. Feedback's great. Help is good. So we're pretty lucky to have some good people down at the marina. We did have a decent turnover this year, about 3/4 of the way through the year. But things are going really well down there.
Okay, thank you. They are nice boats. You got nice boats. Aloha.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Colin?
So Colin, your current contract runs through 22?
Yes, to the end of next year.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
No
Appreciate
problem.
your patience waiting.
Yeah.
Yep, mine was the easy one.
Long day.
Take care, Colin.
Bye-bye.
Anything.
Have a good day.
I didn't realize that walk